Chapter 3158. Surrounded by the crowd was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He was dressed in black, completely outlining his slender but well-built figure. Behind him stood two strong men with their arms crossed. They were bare-chested, and their arms were as thick as thighs. From the color of their clothes, these three were clearly different from the others. All of them wore black. They were warriors of the Ink Cloud flag. Previously, Ling Han had found out that there were a total of 4 elite troops in Hidden Tiger City, and they were respectively the Dark Green Banner, the Earth and Yellow Banner, the Heaven Fire Banner, and the Cloud Ink Banner. These 4 troops were all on the same side, and there was also a lot of competition between them. Currently, the Black Flag was the weakest of the 4 squads in terms of overall strength and individual experts. There was no helping it. The Black Flag had only been established in the last 15 years, and naturally couldn't compare to the other 3 squads in terms of foundation. Moreover, because the Black Flag's flag master was the only female, in this world of martial art where men had the advantage, she was naturally treated differently. The 4 squads often challenged each other, and the one who was challenged the most was naturally the Black Flag. There was no other reason than that they were too weak. Now, the Ink Cloud flag had come to challenge them again. The young man looked around disdainfully, looking down on everyone. Is there anyone who can fight? I can hold back with one hand against 10 meridians. Even if it's 11 meridians, it's not like I can't fight. Too arrogant. Someone from the Black Flag gritted his teeth. Who's going to teach him a lesson? AI, there's nothing we can do. Is Zhu Lang. Although he's not in the top 10 of the younger generation, he's definitely in the top 20. This kind of person is definitely one of the top geniuses in the city and has a chance of entering the capital in the future. But are we just going to watch him act so presumptuously? The people from the Black Flag were incomparably furious, but this kind of challenge was also very particular. 10 meridians against 10 meridians, and 11 meridians against 11 meridians. Now that the Ink Cloud flag had sent someone from 10 meridians, if the Black Flag had to send out 11 or 12 meridians to deal with him, then they wouldn't be able to show their face in the future. Moreover, Zhu Lang was truly powerful. There was no 11 meridians that dared say they could suppress him. If even 11 meridians were defeated by him, then the Black-Green Banner would lose all face. Weak, truly weak. Zhu Lang shook his head. In my opinion, there's no need for the Black Flag to exist at all. Hidden Tiger City only needs 3 flags. This irony was enough to drive one crazy. Zhu Lang, I'll fight you. A youth jumped out and charged at Zhu Lang. Zhu Lang sneered and struck out with a palm strike. Pung! The young man was sent flying like a scarecrow, flying out of the crowd and landing heavily on the ground, coughing up blood. Too weak, he said coldly. But at least you dared to make a move. You're not a coward who doesn't even have your balls. Bastard! Another young man charged forward, but Zhu Lang simply kicked him. He was clearly still 3 meters away, but the force of the kick had already reached him, sending him flying. To be able to unleash 10 feet of force without weakening, this was the standard of 11 meridians. No wonder this person was so arrogant. 10 meridians with the peak of 11 meridians, he could indeed leave. If 12 meridians didn't appear, who could compete with him? Gang fight. Then the Black-Green Banner would never be able to raise its head again. There's no need for trash like this to go up. Zhu Lang shook his head, his face full of disdain. In such a large Black-Green Banner, is there no one who can fight? The 2 muscular Ink Cloud Banner men behind him laughed loudly, also full of disdain. The crowd was incomparably angry, and a few more young men jumped out to fight, but they were all sent flying in one move. Within the 10 meridians, Zhu Lang really had no opponents. Zhang Honglong's figure moved, and he was about to charge out. He really couldn't stand it anymore. Even if he was defeated, he had to fight. But just as he lifted his foot, he felt a weight on his shoulder. A hand pressed down, preventing him from taking a second step. He turned back to look. Wasn't this their cheap vice-captain? You're not his match, Ling Han said lightly. Zhang Honglong's eyebrows rose. So what if he wasn't his match? Was he not going to fight? You coward, not only did you not dare to attack, you even didn't let me attack. You're definitely a turtle hiding in its shell. Coward, don't stop me! Zhang Honglang roared. But no matter how he struggled, he was unable to move an inch. If he carefully thought about this problem, he would definitely reveal a shocked expression. But right now, anger had risen to his head, and he couldn't calm down to think about this problem. Hearing this, the surrounding black-green banner soldiers all glared angrily at Ling Han, their gazes full of disdain. What did they hate the most in the barracks? Cowards. It was inevitable that they would encounter incomparably powerful enemies. Could it be that they would retreat without fighting? No, at this time, what they needed was for the leaders to help each other and unite as one. But if someone deserted, then they were finished. The entire squad would be instantly routed. So even though the youths knew they would lose, they still fearlessly charged forward. No one went to stop them. This was for dignity, for glory. Wasn't this fellow the vice captain that had just been promoted by the flag master? Was he worthy of being such a coward? Scram. Haha. Zhu Lang laughed loudly and looked towards Ling Han and Zhang Hongling. That's a wise move. However, this has also allowed me to see clearly that the black-green banner is only filled with cowards. The black-green banner soldiers all howled. This made them go crazy with anger. To them, glory was their life, and it was even more important than their own lives. At this moment, the disdain they felt for Ling Han was far greater than their hatred for Zhu Lang. Ling Han sighed. How could these people be so impulsive? He shook his head. I'm your captain. It's not your turn yet. With a light push of his hand, Zhang Honglang involuntarily retreated. Ding ding ding, he crashed into the crowd. Ling Han took large strides towards Zhu Lang. Ha, coward. You're embarrassed by someone's words, so you can only helplessly run out. Zhu Lang sneered. I hate cowards and cowards the most. Against people like you, I won't send you flying in one blow. I'll slowly teach you a lesson. Ling Han smiled faintly. Talk too much. He took a big stride forward and threw a heavy punch. He didn't use any techniques, just a simple punch. You overestimate yourself. Zhu Lang sneered and also punched back at Ling Han. Bang. Both of them could release their strength. Even at a distance of 10 meters, their strength collided. Then, Zhu Lang's expression changed. It was as if his strength had hit a dam. He couldn't move an inch forward. Then, the dam turned into a boundless wave that crashed towards him. Then he was sent flying. Just like the people he had kicked and sent flying before, he flew out of the crowd and landed heavily on the ground, coughing up blood. End of chapter. Chapter 3160. Black-green flag, what do you think you're doing? Someone shouted from within the camp. Even though the Dark Azure banner's strength was the weakest amongst the 4 great banners, it wouldn't be weak by much. Once a battle erupted, the consequences would be unimaginable, and even if the Ink Cloud banner won, it would be hard to avoid being heavily punished. Those in power were most afraid of chaos in the army. Could it be that the Xianqing flag could not endure the humiliation and finally exploded? We are here to challenge you. Only your Ink Cloud flag is allowed to challenge, but we're not allowed to challenge as well? Challenge! The people of the black-green flag all roared. This was something that had never happened before, and it made their blood boil with excitement. The people of the Ink Cloud banner looked at each other in dismay. You're all on the wrong meds today. Right at this moment, Zhu Lang and the other 2 walked over. Captain, the Xianqing flag is going too far. They sent out 12 branches and beat up Xiao Lang, said one of them. We protested, but they beat us up too, another brawny man said. Zhu Lang, on the other hand, didn't say anything. In this way, the entire Ink Cloud flag was seething with excitement. Fuck, your black-green flag is too shameless. How shameless? Brothers, get your weapons and fight. The people of the Ink Cloud banner howled and raised the weapons in their hands. Ling Han stepped forward bravely. If the situation continued to develop, it would become a group fight. Zhu Lang was defeated by me. He raised his voice. The people from the Ink Cloud banner looked at Ling Han with slight shock. These are the 12 meridians. But wasn't he too young? He didn't even look 20 years old. Indeed, 12 meridians against 10 meridians was bullying, but if they were of similar age, it was a different matter. You can't blame others for your slow cultivation speed, can you? I have 10 meridians, Ling Han said with a straight face. However, I don't mind who you send. Whether it's 10 meridians, 11 meridians, or 12 meridians, I'll accept them all. He circulated his energy and the 10 open meridians in his body immediately emitted a faint glow. It really was 10 meridians. The members of the Ink Cloud banner were surprised and curious, and they shot their gazes at Zhu Lang. Is he really the person that defeated me? Zhu Lang, on the other hand, opened his mouth wide in disbelief. Ling Han really had 10 meridians. Fuck, he was defeated by a 10 meridians cultivator. How is that possible? His talent in martial art was enough for him to be ranked in the top 20 in the city. The number of people who could defeat him could be counted on one hand, and the number of people who still had 10 meridians like him was even fewer. Taking a step back, even if those people attacked him, they would not be able to defeat him with a single punch. This was a crushing defeat. When they saw Zhu Lang remain silent, the people from the Ink Cloud banner were naturally unsure. I'll fight you. A 10 meridians practitioner jumped out. It was impossible that no one would accept a challenge. He charged at Ling Han, but before he could swing his fist, he was sent flying by a slap from Ling Han. Unable to withstand a single blow. Damn, so strong. The people of the Ink Cloud banner thought to themselves. To be able to defeat a martial artist of the same cultivation level as him with one strike, he was definitely a genius. If he was placed among the wealthy and influential families in the city, he would at least be ranked in the top 20. When did the Black Flag recruit such a genius? Well done. The Black-Green Banner's warriors all roared. Some of them almost broke their throats from shouting. They had been waiting for this moment for far too long. Next, Ling Han said indifferently. This kind of indifference caused the people of the Ink Cloud banner to burn with rage, while the people of the Black Flag were in high spirits and were in high spirits. I'll go. Another 10 meridians practitioner jumped out and charged at Ling Han, but he was only giving up a defeat for nothing. Next, Ling Han did not say anything boastful, and his expression was incomparably calm. However, it was this indifferent expression that caused the people of the Ink Cloud banner to feel greatly humiliated. In Ling Han's eyes, were they not even worthy of being his opponents? You're too arrogant. Ah! A person roared and charged out, but was easily sent flying by a single palm from Ling Han. Another one came and was also finished off with a single palm. After 7 people had come up, Zhu Lang finally stood out and faced the people of the Ink Cloud banner. He said, 10 meridians and 11 meridians are not his match, because I was defeated by him in one move. He really did not want to see his comrades being defeated one after another, so in front of everyone he spoke of the scandal of him being instantly defeated by Ling Han. What? Zhu Lang had really been defeated by this young man. 10 meridians against 10 meridians, and he was instantly defeated in one move. The people of the Ink Cloud banner fell silent. Even Zhu Lang had been defeated, so who else in the same realm could be a match for Ling Han? Ling Han swept his gaze over. Next. But this time, no one from the Ink Cloud banner came out to fight. 12 meridians, come out. Ling Han crooked his finger. I don't mind. The people of the Ink Cloud banner were silent for a while before a burly man in his 30s walked out. There was a long scar at the corner of his mouth, and his hair was messy, as if he was a madman. Luo Ziyuan. He pointed at himself. I will only use 10 moves. If you can withstand it, then our Ink Cloud banner will be defeated today. Captain Luo. The people of the Ink Cloud banner exclaimed. Luo Ziyuan glanced at everyone. Do you not believe me? No one spoke anymore. This Luo Ziyuan was known as the #1 war god of the Ink Cloud banner, and could be considered as one of the top elites among the 12 meridians. If even Luo Ziyuan was unable to defeat Ling Han, then unless Lord Bannermaster was mobilized, no one in the entire army would be a match for Ling Han. The problem was, if it was only limited to 10 moves, wasn't it too little? Luo Ziyuan walked out with large strides. His figure was really tall, about 7 feet tall, and so sturdy that he was at least 3 times as wide as Ling Han. When he walked out like this, he immediately cast a long shadow. The contrast in size was too obvious. In front of him, Ling Han was like a child. 10 moves, Luo Ziyuan said in a low voice. I won't bully you. 12 meridians against 10 meridians was already bullying to the point of no further. But who asked that there really be no one below 12 meridians who could restrain Ling Han? Ling Han smiled faintly. Whatever. Luo Ziyuan took a deep breath. Puff puff puff. All the blood vessels in his body surged, emitting intense sounds. It was as if there was a monster hidden in his body that was now about to break out. His hands actually turned crimson red, and there was hot air rising from them. Crimson flame palm. Captain Luo is using his special skill. This is a secret art that Captain Luo obtained from an ancient site. It's extremely powerful. No wonder Captain Luo said that 10 moves is the limit. This is actually no different from 100 or 1,000 moves. The people of the Ink Cloud banner were all excited. Their godlike strongest captain was about to show his might. Ling Han smiled faintly. This crimson flame palm might be very powerful, but it was obvious that Luo Ziyuan was unable to use its full power. Otherwise, there would be flames entwining around his hands, and not just hot air. Luo Ziyuan roared and charged over. Chapter 3161. Luo Ziyuan's physique was astonishing. As he rushed over, it was as if a giant beast was crushing down. Just this aura alone was enough to scare many people. Get lost! He roared, clapped his palms together, and slapped at Ling Han. Boom! Boundless power surged and transformed into a strong gale. This attack was a bit strong. Ling Han used square fist to meet his opponent's attack. Bang! Their attacks collided, and Ling Han's figure immediately slid back, while Luo Ziyuan stood proudly like a mountain. Ling Han took 3 steps back, then 2 steps back, and then another 20 steps back in a row. This strong man's strength had reached 6 layers. Ling Han was astonished. This was the person with the most layers of strength that he had ever seen. Square fist could not win. Ling Han thought. Square fist could only stack 2 layers of gravity, and his original strength was not as strong as Luo Ziyuan's. Therefore, if he used square fist against his opponent, he would be at a complete disadvantage. He didn't want to expose the demon monkey fist, but he was also someone who was unwilling to lose. He could obviously win, so why did he deliberately lose? Fight. Good job, Captain Luo. Seeing that Luo Ziyuan had the upper hand in one attack, the people of the Ink Cloud banner all shouted loudly and cheered for him. The people of the black-green banner mocked. It's just 12 meridians bullying 10 meridians. What's there to be proud of? Both sides were engaged in a war of words, and Luo Ziyuan attacked again, flying towards Ling Han. Ling Han moved forward and took the initiative to meet the attack. He used Demon Monkey Fist and stacked 7 layers of gravity. Bang bang bang. He and Luo Ziyuan exchanged blows. It was clearly only one attack, but they seemed to have exchanged 6 or 7 attacks in an instant, and there were incessant sharp sounds. Ling Han was pushed back, but so was Luo Ziyuan. Everyone was immediately confused. Who exactly had the upper hand? Naturally, only the 2 people involved knew this the best. Luo Ziyuan's face was full of caution. He was at the peak of 12 meridians, and his strength was as high as 50,000 jin. Ling Han was naturally inferior to him, and the difference was about a few thousand jin. The problem was, the number of layers of Ling Han's overlapping power surpassed his. Thus, in the first 6 waves of power, he had the upper hand. However, he had never thought that Ling Han would actually be able to unleash a 7th layer of power, which instantly forced him to retreat repeatedly. Hiss, 7 gravity. He revealed a shocked expression. It had to be known that he had accidentally obtained the Scarlet Flame Palm, which was why he was able to use 6 levels of gravity. This already made him almost invincible among the 4 banners. But now, a person had appeared, and in terms of superimposition of force, he had actually surpassed him. Could he defeat his opponent within 10 moves? Difficult as ascending to the heavens. Ling Han let out a long roar and took the initiative to attack. He had never been the type to passively take a beating. Bang bang bang, he and Luo Ziyuan fought fiercely. In practically a blink of an eye, The two of them had already exchanged 10 moves. But Ling Han had no intention of stopping, and Luo Ziyuan naturally couldn't just stand there and take a beating. Thus, the two of them were still fighting very fiercely. 7 gravities still couldn't handle him? Ling Han let out a light shout and superimposed his power to 8 layers. Immediately, he clearly had the upper hand on the battlefield. Ling Han had to finish off his opponent as soon as possible. An illuminating pulse expert could only attack with full power for 2 hours. Even if his meridians were widened and he could store more secret power, under the 8 times acceleration of consumption, he could only last for about 20 minutes. Therefore, he had to finish off Luo Ziyuan as soon as possible. If Ling Han still couldn't win with 8 gravity, then he would use 9 gravity. This extra layer of power was equivalent to an additional 12 meridians attacking. It was definitely not a joke. Boom. Such an explosive power wasn't something Luo Ziyuan could match. He barely managed to withstand a dozen or so moves before he was struck by Ling Han's fist. He staggered back a dozen or so steps, blood trickling down from the corner of his mouth. Defeated. Luo Ziyuan had been defeated. In an instant, the entire ink cloud flag was silent. It had to be known that Ling Han was only at 10 meridians, and still had a lot of room for growth. Now that Luo Ziyuan had been defeated, it meant that for a very, very long time, there would be no illuminating pulse that could threaten Ling Han. It could even be said that Ling Han was already invincible in the illuminating pulse realm. As long as he didn't advance to the blood transformation realm, there would be no one who could match him in the same realm. How could they not feel as if they had lost their parents? On the contrary, the people of the Black Flag were shouting excitedly, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. This was really exhilarating, and they had never felt so good before. Ling Han. Captain Ling. This seemed to have become the Black Flag's camp, and the roars of the Black Flag warriors could be heard. What are you shouting for? So noisy. The people of the Black Flag were already in a bad mood, and naturally became even more annoyed after hearing this. Can I shout? I'm happy. The Black Flag people were so excited, how could they stop? Someone couldn't bear it any longer and threw a stone. You dare. Beat them up. Boom, the scene immediately became unmanageable. Originally, it was just a fight between a few people, but it very quickly evolved into a chaotic battle. Over 100 people were fighting, and all of them were at least at 10 meridians. When they released their strength, they could easily injure others. The scene was chaotic. Ling Han let out a long whistle. Fighting in groups was what he loved the most. After at least 10 minutes, a voice filled with dignity and fury rang out. It was like thunder, causing everyone's ears to ring. Then their blood boiled as if their heads were about to explode. Immediately, everyone stopped, and some even had blood flowing out of their eyes. A man leapt over from the distance. He looked to be around 40 years old, and his expression was slightly sinister. He wore a white robe, and it could be seen that there was a blood-like aura boiling on his body. Blood Transformation Realm Expert. Greetings, Flag Master. The people of the Black Cloud Flag all knelt. Although the people of the Black Flag did not kneel, they all slightly lowered their heads. This was a necessary respect towards an expert. This was the Flag Master of the Black Cloud Flag, Ji Shuyu. Do you want to rebel? Ji Shuyu said coldly. His voice was clearly not loud, but it caused everyone to feel uncomfortable in their chests, as if their blood was about to boil. The blood transformation realm was too strong. This was a kind of qualitative suppression. You dare cause trouble in the camp? You really are audacious. He swept his gaze over everyone. Black Flag, what's the matter with you? It's just a spar. Why make such a fuss, Flag Master Ji? A gentle and pleasant voice rang out. Lian Shuerong's figure also appeared. She stood in front of Ji Shuyu, and under her robe, her figure was graceful and curvaceous. You call this a spar? Ji Shuyu pointed at the crowd. Many people were bleeding from their heads. If it's not a spar, then what is it? Lian Shuerong said coldly. She turned her head and said to the people of the Black Flag, You're very free, right? It looks like I haven't trained you enough. Scram with me immediately. In the next 10 days, your daily training will be doubled. She was so protective. Such a huge matter came out of her mouth, but it was like the two of them were playing house. Hearing this, the people of the Black Flag all revealed bitter expressions. Their daily training had been doubled? They were going to suffer. Chapter 3162. What are you still standing there for? Get lost, Lien Shuerong said with a cold expression. The people of the Black Flag hurriedly retreated. Lien Shuerong had absolute authority in their hearts. Ling Han also followed. He couldn't stand out at this time. After returning to the Black Flag, he saw Lien Shuerong return not long after. Her face was cold as she said in a stern voice, "All of you, come here." All the members walked out, each of them as obedient as children. You guys have guts to actually run to the Ink Cloud Flag to fight. Why don't you go to heaven? Lien Shuerong rebuked them coldly. No one said anything. They all lowered their heads. What? Now you know how to be afraid? Lien Shuerong said again. She swept her gaze over everyone, and her expression gradually eased. But in the end, we didn't lose face for the Black Flag. Of course, we can all fight. Everyone immediately became lively again. Lord Flag Leader, we definitely won't lose face for you. We're all mighty. One of us can fight 10. However, after Lien Shuerong's pretty face became serious, everyone became silent again. She had absolute authority in the Black Flag. Tell me what exactly happened, she asked. One of the vice captains walked over and explained the whole story. Lien Shuerong looked at Ling Han with a trace of surprise in her eyes. She hadn't expected Ling Han to be so fierce. Not only had he defeated Zhu Lang, but he had even defeated Luo Ziyun. He really was a monster. She had previously appointed Ling Han as vice captain out of admiration for Ling Han. It had also been a spur-of-the-moment decision and she hadn't thought too much about it. But this time, she was truly shocked. This kid was worthy of being nurtured. All right, all of you, go train. Who still has the strength to stand by evening? Starting tomorrow, the training volume will increase by 10 times, Lien Shuerong said coldly. Everyone listlessly began to train. But as they fought, ran, and jumped, smiles slowly appeared on everyone's faces, and then they became more and more excited. Today was really too exciting. Ling Han, come with me, Lien Shuerong said. Sigh, I can't run away. Ling Han had no choice but to follow Lien Shuerong into her main tent. You're good at fighting, aren't you? Lien Shuerong asked with a faint smile. Ling Han didn't know what she meant, so he just smiled and said, Not bad, not bad. In a month, the city will hold a martial competition. You will represent the black-green flag, Lien Shuerong said. Ling Han was surprised. There was actually no punishment, but only to let him participate in some martial arts competition. He chuckled. Then if I get first place, what's the reward? Lien Shuerong couldn't help but laugh. You don't even know who your opponents are, and you're already thinking about rewards. About that, I've always been more confident, Ling Han said, a little embarrassed. Lien Shuerong was speechless. After a while, she said, This is a grand event that is held in Hidden Tiger City every year. Getting first place is more of an honor. However, it's not that there's no reward, but it's different every year, so I don't know either. However, there are quite a few monsters among your opponents. The one ranked first also has the ability to fight 2 realms above him. Ling Han was a little moved. There was actually someone who could fight 2 realms above him? A strong desire to fight rose in him. He really wanted to spar. Lien Shuerong saw the desire to fight on his face and couldn't help but think, what kind of battle maniac is this guy? After knowing that he has such an opponent, not only does he not feel the slightest pressure, but his desire to fight actually rises. She said again, this person is already 12 meridians, and it's said that he can advance to the blood transformation realm now. It's all for this competition that he hasn't broken through. 12 meridians and a monster who can fight 2 realms above him? How could he win? Could Ling Han reach 12 meridians in a month? No, he couldn't. Are there any restrictions to this competition? Ling Han asked. For example, can we use formations or something like that? Do you really think you're a formation master? Lien Shuerong shook her head. We can't use talisman soldiers or high-level Dharma treasures, but we can use formations. After all, what kind of formation could you set up in the time it takes to get on the arena? So if you can really set it up, that's your ability. You have to admit it. Ling Han nodded. This way, he had a chance of winning. Flag leader, can I apply for leave to prepare for next month's competition? Ling Han asked. He wanted to spend more time on formations and not waste time on training. Lien Xuerong thought about it and said, all right, but if you can't get into the top 4, I'll make you double your training for the next month. All right. Ling Han nodded. She had really underestimated him. He was aiming for first place. Just as he was about to leave, he turned around and asked, how's sect leader's son? He's doing very well. He's recuperating his body. It should take a month or so, Lien Xuerong said casually. Only then did Ling Han leave. Since he had applied for leave, Ling Han didn't feel any pressure. He began to study formations properly. Every day, he persisted in using the God's Will board to cultivate his mental strength. Every day he improved. This was just the beginning, but he improved very quickly. 10 days later, he could already walk out of the maze with the white dot on the God's Will board. After he succeeded, the God's Will board continued to emit white light, as though informing the surrounding people that someone had completed the test of the God's Will board. And with the huge increase in his mental strength, Ling Han finally created the psychedelic array. With a casual toss, the 9 array bases were distributed around him. He then used his psyche power to activate them, and the array was instantly activated. Huan Xue, he called out. Young master, what can I do for you? Where are you? Huan Xue entered the house. Even though Ling Han was standing in front of her, she ignored him. It was as though Ling Han wasn't even there. Ling Han was surprised. This psychedelic array even had the ability to turn invisible. When he walked out of the array, Huan Xue jumped in fright. She patted her chest forcefully. Would it really not break if she patted it so hard? Walk forward, said Ling Han. Huan Xue walked in a daze. Even if it was a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, she would not hesitate to step in, much less in a house. Young master, why can't I see clearly? In the psychedelic array, Huan Xue spread her arms. It was as though she had entered an incomparably dark environment. She couldn't see anything clearly. It's nothing, said Ling Han. He went forward to put away the array foundations. Immediately, Huan Xue saw the light of day again. Young master, what just happened? She was dumbfounded. A small array, said Ling Han. Array? Huan Xue was still dumbfounded. Ling Han gave a simple explanation, and Huan Xue immediately gave an O. So it turns out that young master fiddles with that whatever disc all day just to cultivate formations. I've always been curious about what's the point of that little white dot swaying about. Ling Han looked at the little maidservant with a look of surprise. Chapter 3164. Beginner, is this high or low? Niu Huaqing was interested and asked, Kid, when did you start to train your spiritual power? It should be more than a month ago. Ling Han told the truth, and when Niu Huaqing heard it, he was shocked. Only a little more than a month. Are you sure? The old man emphasized. Ling Han looked back at the old man. The two of them were not related in any way, so was it necessary for him to deceive the owner of an array shop? Looking at his lazy appearance, how much business could the shop have, and how much money could he deceive? Niu Huaqing smiled and said, The array I gave you before, have you finished studying it? Ling Han nodded. That's why I need to buy materials for the array foundation. Niu Huaqing shook his head. You really don't know how expensive it is. The materials for the array foundation are expensive. It's too wasteful to use them to practice. Ling Han smiled. It turned out that the old man was also thinking about his wallet. He said, Don't worry about this, I have already practiced. Hey, you succeeded? Niu Huaqing was surprised. Where did you carve it? Did you bring it? Ling Han shook his head. How could he bring it with him? Where are you going? Let me see. If you really succeed, I will open the materials in this shop for you to choose, free of charge. Niu Huaqing said. Ling Han was surprised. Why did the old man do this? Did he have too much money to burn? Go get it. Niu Huaqing waved his hand. If you don't go get it, I won't sell anything to you. Damn, You are really willful. Ling Han had no choice but to go back and bring the completed array foundation. Niu Huaqing took it, looked at it carefully, and even touched it with his hand. His face was intoxicated, as if it was his lover. It gave Ling Han goosebumps. Not bad at all. He smiled. In just a few days, you can combine and draw the array pattern. You can be called a genius. He wanted to say that he was a genius, but he thought that he should not praise him too much, lest Ling Han became arrogant. The old man is a man of his word. You can choose whatever you want from the store. Niu Huaqing said, however, to refine this kind of elementary psychedelic array, the materials don't need to be of high quality. This iron core magnet is enough. The old man took out a pile of black stones of varying sizes. They did not look good at all. Seeing the look of disgust on Ling Han's face, the old man laughed and said, "Brat, you don't understand. The more natural it is, the more it is in harmony with nature. If you throw it on the ground, can you tell the difference between it and a lump of mud?" He really didn't. It was just like a lump of coal. This is an array pattern blade. You can easily carve array patterns on it. Niu Huaqing took out a long knife and handed it over to Ling Han. Come, make it on the spot. This old man wants to see it with my own eyes. Ling Han, on the other hand, did not care. This array manual was given to him by the old man, and so were the materials and tools. There was nothing for him to keep secret. In any case, he was going to make the array foundation, so what difference did it make where? All right. He took the knife and picked up a black stone. It had to be said that this thing was very heavy. He actually felt it sink when he held it in his hand. From this, it could be seen that the old man really did not use ordinary stones to fool him. Ling Han's expression turned solemn as he began to carve array patterns. Be it practicing with the divine will board or making the array foundation, they were both ways to train one's mental strength. It was very simple. Just like a muscle, when it was used to the point of exhaustion, it would naturally improve. In just a short while, he had made the first array foundation. Niu Huaqing immediately took it and looked at it carefully. He smiled. Although it's my first time making it and my technique is a little rusty, it's still my first time making it. It's really amazing to have such a performance. He quietly waited for Ling Han to make the 9 array foundations before saying, "Set up the array." Ling Han nodded and continued to lay down the formation bases. This was also something to be paid attention to. The distance and angle between each formation base and the other formation bases were extremely strict, or else it would affect the extraction and distortion of the power of heaven and earth. After the array was set up, Ling Han used his mental strength to guide it. This was an array that he had made himself. His mental strength was interlinked, and the array formation immediately began to operate. "All right, try striking the array formation," Niu Huaqing said from the side. Ling Han did as he was told. He did not use much strength, but it was still a few thousand kilograms. However, even when he released his strength, the 9 black stones did not move at all when he touched the array foundation. Ling Han increased his strength, but the array foundation did not move at all. It was only when he increased his strength to 50,000 kilograms that the array foundation finally moved. However, the strange thing was that when one piece moved, the other 8 followed. Be it the distance or the angle, it was exactly the same. It was as if the entire array formation had moved a certain distance toward a certain steering wheel. Interesting. Could it be that the array could only move and not be destroyed when it was under pressure? This undoubtedly made the array more practical. Otherwise, as long as one had 50,000 kilograms of strength, a random attack would be able to destroy the array. Clap, clap, clap. Niu Huaqing clapped his hands and said, "Kid, not bad at all." Ling Han smiled and said, "Uncle, this time I want to learn an array that focuses on killing. Perhaps one that can even the cultivation of both sides." Niu Huaqing rolled his eyes and said, "To even the cultivation of both sides, that's a master-level array. In the entire Xianbei country, there are no more than 3 who have the ability to make it. Aren't you greedy, kid? What's more, this kind of array needs to be inscribed with too many runes. It requires hundreds of array foundations. It's considered a large-scale array. Kid, Don't tell me you want to carry it with you at all times and use it to even the cultivation of others in battle? I've been seen through. Ling Han sighed. Was it really that obvious on his face? Here, this is a killing array that can threaten even blood transformation experts. However, if you want to set it up, you'll need to cultivate at least mid-level mental strength. Niu Huaqing saw that Ling Han was about to take the array, but he pulled his hand back. However, you'll need to run an errand for me. Where to? Asked Ling Han. To the Formation Dao Association. Find a kid called Gu Tianhe. Tell him I sent you, said Niu Huaqing. Ling Han bared his teeth. Just tell him you sent me. There's no need to say what it is. If that kid knows you were sent by my boss, he'll naturally know. Niu Huaqing smiled. Ling Han felt that the old man's smile was very strange, as if he had schemed against him. But what bad thing could happen if he made a trip to the Formation Dao Association? Alright, I'll go. Ling Han nodded. Go ahead. Niu Huaqing nodded and tossed the book over. Ling Han caught it and couldn't help being surprised. Uncle, aren't you afraid I'll go back on my word? Will you? Asked Niu Huaqing. Ling Han shook his head. Then it's settled, Niu Huaqing said confidently, with a "you're so stupid" look on his face. Chapter 3165. Ling Han kept the new set of array foundations. As for the old set, he left it in the shop. Niu Huaqing said that he wanted to take a look. In any case, it was made of wood and it was already somewhat damaged. Because drawing on the power of heaven and earth was a huge pressure, how could ordinary wood withstand it? He had always been a trustworthy person. Thus, after leaving the array shop, he walked towards the Array Dao Association. It didn't matter if he didn't know the way, he could just ask someone. The Array Dao Association was famous. There were motorcycles in the city that could be ridden. Although the speed wasn't as fast as Ling Han's full speed, firstly, Ling Han wasn't in a hurry. Secondly, he didn't need to use his own strength, so why not take a ride? If he took a car to the Array Dao Association, it would cost 2 Xian North coins. It wasn't cheap. After Ling Han paid, he got off the car and looked forward. In front of him was the Array Dao Association. It was a huge building. First, there was a row of stairs. It was as tall as a 2-story building. Then there was a white auditorium-like hall. There were many huge pillars supporting it. It was extremely spectacular. There were almost no people coming in or out. If not for the 4 guards standing at the top of the stairs, people would really suspect that this was a haunted house. Ling Han walked up the stairs and quickly reached the end. However, he was blocked by the 4 people. Who is it? One of them asked. He seemed to be a man of few words. Ling Han smiled and said, My name is Ling Han. I'm here to find a person called Gu Tianhe. Is there such a person? Yes, how could there not be? He was the boss here. The 4 guards looked at each other. Did you eat the wrong medicine? Why did you come here to ask if there was a person called President Gu here? Hee, you want to see our president? One of the guards laughed. What? Gu Tianhe was actually the president of the Array Dao Association? Ling Han clenched his teeth. Could it be that he was tricked by that old man? He actually said that Gu Tianhe was a small figure in the Array Dao Association. It was just that he had been entrusted with a task, so he had to be loyal to it. He continued, Please inform President Gu that I'm, sent by the owner of a formation shop. Puff, the 4 guards almost burst out laughing. How many formation shops were there in the city? Which one of them sent you here? You can't even speak properly, and you still want to meet the president? Ling Han felt more and more that he had been tricked by the old man. Wasn't he deliberately creating a misunderstanding by coming up with such a strange name? That array formation shop will be called Array Formation Shop. He said, I'll have to trouble the 4 of you to pass on a message. I don't have any extravagant requests for President Gu to meet me. He was only going to make a trip for Niu Huaqing. Once the person arrived and the news was delivered, his task would be completed. As for the rest, he didn't care. Apologies, President Gu is busy with trivial matters. We dare not disturb you, the 4 guards said. What a joke. If everyone wanted to see President Gu and they all went to report, wouldn't President Gu be annoyed to death? Where would he find the time to study the Array Dao? Let's go. They wanted to chase Ling Han away. If the four of them went to inform Gu Tianhe and Gu Tianhe didn't want to see them, Ling Han wouldn't bother them. He would just turn around and leave. But if they didn't report, Ling Han would feel that he didn't complete his task. Thus, he argued for the four of them to make an exception. No matter what, he had to pass on a message. "What's the matter? Why are you making such a ruckus here?" A young man walked out of the hall. He was dressed in white and had an elegant demeanor. "Young Master Jun." The four guards hurriedly bowed with incomparably respectful expressions. This was young Master Yan Jun. His talent in the array Dao was incomparably outstanding. He was known as a rare genius in the array Dao. He was accepted as a disciple by Deacon Lu. He was only in his early 20s, but he had already become a beginner array master. An array master. It would be amazing if he had a master. There was another young man beside Yan Jun. His name was Yang Ziqing. He was a young master of the city's prestigious Yang clan. He specially came to find Yan Jun to ask him to create an array formation for him. "This is the Array Dao Association, not a market," Yang Ziqing said in an arrogant tone. Seriously, did he think that any Tom, Dick, or Harry had the right to enter this place? Wasn't his status being dragged down as well? Ling Han looked at Yang Ziqing. Although the four guards had been rejecting him previously, at least their attitudes weren't bad. Thus, he didn't get angry. However, Yang Ziqing's attitude made him unhappy. "Who do you think you are?" he directly retorted. "You dare to humiliate me?" Yang Ziqing was furious. "Oh, then you're not a thing." Ling Han laughed. "Bastard." Yang Ziqing stomped his feet. He was angered by Ling Han in just a few words. "Young Master Jun, it's like this." One of the guards explained. "This person is called Ling Han. He said he wants to see the president." Ling Han. Yan Jun only felt his mind shake. He didn't hear a single word of what the guard said next. This person was Ling Han. He looked at Ling Han and said, "Are you Ling Han of the black-green flag?" This guy knew him? "That's right." Ling Han nodded. Yan Jun immediately revealed a dense killing intent. This brat actually dared to steal his woman. The key was that he had chased after Lian Xuerong for a year or two, but Lian Xuerong had always been cold and indifferent to him. But now, Lian Xuerong not only gave things to Ling Han, but also openly shielded him. Yang Ziqing observed his expression and immediately said, "Brat, this isn't a place for you to behave atrociously. If you don't scram, I won't be polite to you." Ling Han glanced at him. "You still want to use force?" "I'm not using force. I'm just maintaining order," Yang Ziqing said coldly. Seeing Yang Ziqing jump out of his own accord, Yan Jun didn't say anything else. He wanted to kill Ling Han, but no matter how gutsy he was, he didn't dare to openly kill someone in the city. A country had its laws. If it wasn't a wanted criminal, but if it caused someone to be crippled or even killed, then he would have to pay a huge price. Therefore, if Yang Ziqing jumped out now, he was also happy to let the other be the vanguard and give Ling Han a taste of his strength. Of course, he would definitely think of a way to kill Ling Han next. He couldn't tolerate the woman he liked having another man in her heart. Scram! Yang Ziqing attacked, a slap flying towards Ling Han. He had 11 meridians. The power of this blow was vigorous, and the strong wind it stirred caused the four guards to tremble, almost falling down. Ling Han revealed an angry expression. Who did he offend? He could tell that Yan Jun had strong enmity towards him, and this Yang Ziqing was flattering the other, so he jumped out in a hurry. Did he think he was easy to bully? Ling Han also slapped over. Pa! The force that Yang Ziqing struck out was instantly disintegrated, and the power of Ling Han's attack was not dissipated, heavily slapping onto Yang Ziqing's face. Ah! Yang Ziqing let out a pained grunt, a bright red palm print instantly appearing on his face. He was dumbfounded. He had 11 meridians. To be able to casually slap him, then in the meridian opening realm, only 12 meridians could do this. This guy looked so young but was actually a 12 meridians expert? He really couldn't believe it, otherwise he wouldn't have been so anxious to act. Chapter 3166. Ling Han, How dare you act so presumptuously in front of the Array Master Association? How dare you? Yen Jun opened his mouth and directly charged Ling Han with a crime. Ling Han looked at Yen Jun and said, "That's strange. I've never seen a tortoise like you before. Why are you biting me and not letting go?" He had just arrived at Hidden Tiger City and hadn't even activated the troublesome aura. Why was he being targeted? Fuck, tortoise. Yen Jun revealed an angry expression. Was this brat mocking him? His woman had been stolen by the other party. If he wasn't a tortoise, then what was he? Wow, you clearly knew that Lien Shuerong was my woman, but you still dared to make a move. I can't kill you. You trespassed into our association and even tried to commit murder. Do you know how serious your crime is? He said coldly. Ling Han laughed out loud. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. How would you know that I trespassed? There was just a mad dog that wanted to bite me, so I kicked it to stop it from committing murder. Yang Ziqing was stunned. Fuck, this guy actually called him a mad dog? Scram. Why would the president see a brute like you? Yen Jun waved his hand. It was impossible to kill Ling Han here. He could only humiliate him. Ling Han smiled faintly. Oh, so you can represent President Gu. Gu Tianhe was an advanced array master. Even the city lord had to treat him with respect. What virtue or ability did Yen Jun have to represent such a big shot? Yen Jun snorted. If any Tom, Dick, or Harry could pay respects to the president, then wouldn't the president be busy to death? I'm just screening for him. You're not worthy. It's none of your business whether I'm worthy or not. All I want is a notification, Ling Han said faintly. Country bumpkin, scram? Yen Jun said disdainfully. He hoped that Ling Han would leave as soon as possible. Then he would find out where Ling Han lived and hire an assassin to make Ling Han disappear forever. You think too much. Ling Han did not pay attention to him. He just stayed here and believed that Gu Tianhe would come out. At that time, he only needed to pass on Niu Huaqing's words. Then, if Gu Tianhe wanted to see him, he could see him. If not, he would leave. It was a simple matter. Yen Jun sneered, still not giving up? If Lord President is willing to see a country bumpkin like you, then the sun will definitely rise from the west. Ling Han couldn't be bothered with him. He didn't know this guy, and if he wanted to fight, he would accompany him. Seeing that Ling Han actually ignored him, Yen Jun could not help becoming even more furious. This kid is actually putting on airs? Is he deliberately provoking me? Damn it. Guards, hurry up and drive him out, he said coldly. He was a beginner-level array master and had a bright future ahead of him, so the 4 guards were naturally very respectful towards him. When they heard his words, they all looked towards Ling Han. Please don't make things difficult for us, one of the guards said. Ling Han smiled. I have something to ask to see you. It's fine if you don't pass the message on my behalf, but you actually want to drive me away. I want to see how tyrannical the Array Association is. Oh, do you really want someone to pass the message on your behalf? Yen Jun revealed a cold smile. All right, I can help you inform Lord President. Did this guy eat the wrong medicine? Not to mention Ling Han's disbelief, even the 4 guards and Yang Ziqing's faces were filled with confusion. What the hell was this? But you have to crawl under my crotch first. Yen Jun spread his legs apart, full of disdain. If it were the large black dog, he would definitely agree first. Then he would pretend as if he was going to drill into Yen Jun's body and take the opportunity to use his underhanded hands and mouth to bite Yen Jun's little brother into pieces. However, Ling Han would not be so tasteless. He just looked at Yen Jun, confused. How did he offend this guy? Although he had activated the hatred halo and the automatic taunting effect, this was too strange. He had just arrived and did not know many people, but he was actually treated with such hostility and hatred. Strange. But no matter what, his principle was very simple. Whoever offended him, he would beat them up. This Yen Jun was already on his blacklist. What's with all the ruckus? A solemn voice rang out from within the palace, filled with dignity. An old man walked out. Although he was rather skinny, his spirit was still hale and hearty. Lord President. Yen Jun and the others hurriedly bowed when they saw him. Gu Tianhe, the president of the Array Association of Hidden Tiger City, an advanced array master. His identity was shocking and his status was high. The main character was here. Ling Han hurriedly said, "President Gu, I was asked by the owner of an array shop to pay a visit to President Gu." This kid, not only did he not bow when he saw Gu Tianhe, but he actually said such inappropriate words. Yang Ziqing and the others did not understand, but Yan Jun sneered. Very good, if he offended Gu Tianhe, no one could save him. Gu Tianhe was startled. What was going on? Master Niu actually sent someone to see him. How dare you be so impudent in front of the president? Are you courting death? Yan Jun grabbed the opportunity and shouted. Although he was a genius in the Array Association, he did not mind sucking up to Gu Tianhe. After all, his master was just a deacon, while Gu Tianhe was the president. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Shut up. Unexpectedly, his bootlicking went against the horse's leg. Gu Tianhe's eyes were extremely sharp as he stared angrily at him. Yan Jun was stunned. What was going on? Little friend, follow me. Gu Tianhe waved at Ling Han. This was someone sent by Master Niu. Of course he could not ignore him. Others might not know, but how could he not know? Niu Huaqing was someone who stirred up a storm in the past. Unfortunately, fate made a fool out of him, causing that high-spirited array genius to become so dispirited. Therefore, since Master Niu sent someone to find him, it must be an extremely important matter. He turned around and left. This time, naturally no one dared to stop Ling Han. Since the president had spoken, who would be so blind? Ling Han glanced at Yan Jun, shook his head and said, "President Gu, I cannot go in." Gu Tianhe turned around. Why? Someone said that if I want to go in, I have to crawl under his crotch. Ling Han said. Gu Tianhe immediately looked at Yan Jun, Yang Ziqing and the others. Obviously, this was said by one of the six. Yan Jun almost jumped. Why was this kid so vengeful? He hurriedly said, "President, don't listen to his nonsense. I did not stop him from going in. I only said that if he wants to pass the message, he has to listen to me." His voice became softer and softer, because he had regained his senses. Ling Han purposely said something wrong to make him confess. "How dare you?" Gu Tianhe was furious. "Is the Array Association opened by you? You can't let anyone in just because you don't want to." Yan Jun could only lower his head and let Gu Tianhe scold him. Ling Han. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly. End of chapter. Chapter 3168. Falling in Love with You, Divine Tao Alchemy Venerable's latest chapter. Yan Jun glanced at him and said indifferently, "Then go spread the news and have Hell send out assassins." Yang Ziqing was shocked. Hell was an assassin organization and claimed that there was no one they could not kill. Not to mention ordinary people, even the higher-ups of the army and the ministers of the dynasty would kill them as long as the price was right. But they only had a verbal conflict with Ling Han, and to be honest, they were the ones who started the fight. How did it escalate to the point of hiring an assassin organization? Could it be that there was a grudge he didn't know about? He didn't want to be the bird that stuck out. But he looked at Yan Jun. This was the most promising formation master in Hidden Tiger City, and Gu Tianhe would eventually die of old age. If he could build a good relationship with the future chairman of the Formation Association, then his position in the family would rise greatly, and he could even think about the position of the family head. Normally speaking, it was impossible for him to get this position. "Okay, I'll go immediately." He gritted his teeth and decided to go all the way. Different from the ancient Tao sect, Xianbei country was a real country, and a big one at that. It occupied a lot of land, and not only did ancient martial arts flourish, but the technology from before the world changed had also started to flourish. Thus, there was not only an optical computer here, but also an internet connection. For example, an assassin organization like Hell had an online platform for people to place orders on. Of course, assassin organizations were the targets of the state, so these platforms were often banned. But they would always rise from the ashes and reappear under a different face. Yang Ziqing wrote down Ling Han's information on this platform, and soon, Hell gave him a reply. 200,000 xianbei coins. To Yang Ziqing, this was a huge sum of money. The monthly salary he received from the family was only 10,000 xianbei coins. Usually, he spent a lot of time drinking and spending on cultivation, so he didn't have much left. Some months, it wasn't even enough. Now, he had to take out 200,000 at once. It was really hard for him. Is the money not enough? Yanjun asked. Yes. Yang Ziqing gritted his teeth. He used the reserve money his parents gave him to pay. Soon, Hell gave him a reply. There would be a result in 3 days. Young Master Jun, it's done. Yang Zi said. Although the cost was huge and he also took a huge risk, he still managed to get on Yanjun. After this incident, he should have obtained Yanjun's absolute trust. Yanjun nodded with a trace of indifference in his eyes. From the beginning to the end, he only moved his lips. If they found out that it was Yang Ziqing who did it, he would push the blame away and let Yang Ziqing bear all the responsibility. After Ling Han returned home, he set up the psychedelic array in the courtyard. Because the place he lived in was very small, such a psychedelic array was enough to cover the entire courtyard. Ling Han taught Huanxue how to get in and out of the array so that she wouldn't be trapped inside. If no one stepped in, this psychedelic array would not be activated. The array base buried underground would also not be seen by others. It was very well hidden. Once someone stepped in, unless they were also proficient in this psychedelic array, they would be trapped to the point where they couldn't even see their own fingers. Of course, this could only trap Meridian Opening Realm cultivators. If Blood Transformation Realm cultivators attacked with all their strength, the power would be too great and the connection between the array bases would be destroyed. Then the array base would fall apart and the psychedelic array would naturally cease to exist. This was Ling Han's insurance. Ling Han haggled with the seller and finally made a deal for 5,000 xianbei dollars. This was actually not expensive, because after Ling Han learned it, he would also be able to sell the pill recipe on the platform. However, all the sellers seemed to have agreed that 5,000 would be the lowest price, and no one was willing to lower the price any further. This kind of transaction was the easiest to complete. After paying, the platform sent the recipe over. Ling Han carefully looked at it. I don't need a lot of materials. Check the price. The cost is around 500 xianbei dollars. If the furnace doesn't explode, then the number of pills will be around 3 to 5. Sigh, the Alchemy Association is really profitable. The Alchemy Association is actually selling one for 2,000. But this is also good. I can make money from alchemy. Reading a refreshing novel is enough. Chapter 3169. Ling Han was happy. He could finally go back to his old profession. He actually liked alchemy very much, but this world valued strength too much, so he had to put more energy into practicing martial arts. Otherwise, if he didn't have enough strength, he wouldn't even know if he could survive, let alone freely refining alchemy. I still need a set of formation called the 7-star formation. Forget it, I'll go buy it from the store. Ling Han immediately acted. He first went to the medicine store to gather all the raw materials for alchemy. He had a net worth of 100,000, so he was very rich. He bought 100 sets of raw materials in one go, and even needed a car from the store to help him send them back. The task of following the car was handed over to Summon Snow, and Ling Han went to a formation shop. Senior Niu. Ling Han called out. Since he knew Niu Huaqing's identity, he had to be more respectful. That brat actually revealed the old man's identity. Niu Huaqing was very dissatisfied. This brat was, of course, Gu Tianhe. How pitiful. He was the leader of a guild, and his authority was no less than the city lord's. Ling Han shook his head in his heart. You sent me over like this, and you didn't specifically inform me. Gu Tianhe would definitely inadvertently reveal the secret. Could it be that he asked Ling Han what the old man had sent him here for? Wasn't he afraid of being cut? He just laughed and said, Senior, do you have a 7-star formation for sale here? Hey, why do you want a 7-star formation? Niu Huaqing was very curious. This is used by alchemists to refine pills. If you wanted a 7-star formation, the old man wouldn't find it strange. But now you want a finished 7-star formation. I plan to refine pills, said Ling Han. Niu Qinghua immediately spurted out. He looked at Ling Han and then laughed loudly. Of course he found it funny. Alchemists also needed to learn formations, but most alchemists didn't need to know how to refine their own formation base. They only needed to be able to activate the formation, and this only required spiritual power. Do you think you can refine pills just because you know formations? What a joke. Ling Han also laughed. Senior, do you not believe that I can refine pills? I don't believe it. I definitely don't believe it. Niu Huaqing shook his head. Out of 10,000 array masters, there might be one with extraordinary talent who could also refine pills. But how many array masters were there in Xianbei country? Therefore, this was completely impossible. Do you want to make a bet? Ling Han asked with a wicked smile. If the large black dog was present, he would immediately be able to tell that Ling Han was trying to scam him. Niu Huaqing rolled his eyes and said, Sure. If I can concoct pills, then senior, the formation here should be open to me. I can learn whatever I want, Ling Han said. For Niu Huaqing, this was no actual loss, but for Ling Han, it was a huge gain. Sure. Niu Huaqing smiled. If you lose, the old man wants you to put all your effort into array Dao. After you go to the imperial capital, you must become the #1 array master within 10 years. This seems to be for Ling Han's own good. Ling Han nodded and said, All right, deal. He couldn't put all his effort into the formation, but he wouldn't lose at all. Niu Huaqing looked around and gave Ling Han a 7-star formation. This was a basic formation, but it was more advanced than the ternary formation. It needed mental power to activate, and in the process of pill concoction, it needed to control the intensity of the energy. Therefore, it was impossible for two people to divide the work, one refining pills and the other controlling the formation, unless the two were mentally connected. There were 2 sisters in the imperial capital. One was a formation master, the other was an alchemist. They were mentally connected and could work together to concoct pills. They had been famous for a while a few years ago. Ling Han first familiarized himself with the formation. This didn't need much time, and he quickly grasped it. The important thing was how to control the energy waves when concocting pills. There couldn't be any mistakes at any point, or it would affect the quantity and quality of the pills formed. It could even cause the furnace to explode, and all would be for naught. After preparing for half a day, Ling Han began to concoct pills. He activated the formation, and then threw in all kinds of ingredients with practiced ease. The formation triggered the power of heaven and earth, which transformed into some kind of mysterious power. The ingredients that were thrown in seemed to be held by an invisible hand and didn't fall to the ground. Instead, they floated in the air. Damn, could this kid really be a genius in both alchemy and array? Looking at Ling Han's practice technique, Niu Huaqing wasn't sure. This level of proficiency and confidence definitely couldn't have been formed all of a sudden. But this kid wasn't even 20 years old. Where did he find so much time to practice alchemy? Moreover, this guy was quite accomplished in arrays. Wait, it seemed like this guy had only been practicing arrays for a few months. Thinking about this, Niu Huaqing's lips couldn't help but twitch. Did he really meet a monster? To Ling Han, concocting a pill like the secret power pill was too easy. Whether it was the technique or the changes in the control of energy, it wasn't complicated at all. It only took him 2 hours to complete the concoction. That was a piece of cake. He was the emperor of alchemy. Even though this was his first time concocting, Ling Han was still very relaxed. This posture, this calmness, would make the old alchemist hold his head in shock and exclaim in disbelief. Of course, he had concocted pills in the Yuan world for God knows how many years. Who could compare? 2 hours later, Ling Han finished his work. 4 green-colored alchemical pills were currently spinning in the middle of the array, emitting a slightly sweet and bitter smell. He reached out, grabbed the pills, and stopped the operation of the formation. The longer the formation operated, the more times it was used, the more wear and tear it would cause to the foundation of the formation. You really succeeded, Niu Huaqing said in shock, even though he had guessed from Ling Han's posture that this guy might have succeeded. Ling Han smiled and handed over the pills, saying, "Senior, Please appreciate it. No need, this old man is really convinced. There's actually such a genius in this world, proficient in both array and alchemy. Niu Huaqing sighed and threw a key to Ling Han. In the future, you can come here as you like. Thank you, senior. Ling Han put away the key. Since he had already started, he might as well make a few more batches. Chapter 3170. Ling Han returned to his residence and took a secret power pill. After refining it, he fell asleep. He was too tired. Summon Snow had also consumed a secret power pill and was currently cultivating to refine it. She had already been taught the heaven and earth art. With the help of the art and the spirit gathering formation, her progress was maintained at a shocking speed. She was now at 6 meridians. This was mainly because the heaven and earth art didn't have a high degree of refinement of secret power, unlike Ling Han. After refining the power extracted from the spirit gathering formation, it didn't even reach a third of his normal cultivation. It was too useless. However, Call Snow's fast progress was also because her combat power was insufficient. She was only comparable to an ordinary 6 meridians. This was actually good enough. The little maidservant was cultivating. Because Ling Han came back very late, it was already past 3 in the morning when she absorbed all the power of the secret power pill. She yawned and was about to go rest when she suddenly realized that the formation in the courtyard was activated. She was a bit naive. She was stunned at first and thought about it with her head tilted. Then her expression changed. Someone broke in. Otherwise, why would the formation be activated? Was it a thief? Call Snow's first reaction was to wake Ling Han up. However, when she thought of the young master's tired face when he came back, she immediately dispelled the idea. Instead, she took out her sword and said to herself, I can't disturb the young master's rest. I'll let Call Snow guard the young master. She emphasized it a few times to boost her confidence. Then, she walked into the courtyard with her sword. Her movements weren't small and made some noise. However, she didn't have to worry about being heard by the people in the formation. After entering the formation, the brain would be deceived. They would hear and see inexplicable things. Then it would be like a ghost walking on a wall. They wouldn't be able to walk out. From the outside, the area covered by the formation was actually very small. They would be able to walk out after taking a few steps. With Ling Han's help, added with the fact that Summon Snow herself had also cultivated spiritual power, she was naturally able to control this formation. That hallucinatory effect no longer had any effect on her. She could clearly see that there were 2 black-robed men inside the formation. Their faces and heads were covered, and they held shining swords in their hands. Not a thief. Summon Snow wasn't stupid, she was just a little silly. She immediately realized that thieves didn't need weapons, only robbers did. But this was Crouching Tiger City, where had the bandits come from? Therefore, there was only one possibility left. They were here to kill Ling Han. Tried to kill his young master. Summon Snow was instantly filled with a strong desire to fight. She was originally a little afraid, but now she didn't feel anything at all, only incomparable anger. Someone actually wanted to harm her young master. Death as she approached, she thrust her sword out. Under the effects of the psychedelic array, the 2 masked men's senses were clouded. They didn't sense anyone approaching them at all, and they even took out their swords. Needless to say, these 2 were assassins sent by hell. However, assassins were assassins after all. They had an instinctive sense for killing intent. When Snowcaller's sword was about to reach them, one of the masked men immediately reacted and hastily dodged. But it was still too late. The tip of the sword slashed across, leaving a deep wound on his waist. That person let out a cry of surprise. But beside him, his companion acted as if he didn't see or hear anything. It seemed incomparably strange. Summon Snow's hand trembled slightly, and her face was also a little pale. This wasn't the first time she fought, but it was the first time she held the thought of killing someone. There was blood on the sword, and it emitted a fishy smell. It made her want to vomit, but when she thought of Ling Han, she immediately firmed her conviction. Whoever wanted to harm Summon Snow's young master had to step over Summon Snow's corpse first, she thought. Her conviction was firm, and she struck again. This time, she was a different person. Moreover, her hand was even steadier. Her sword stabbed out, fast, accurate, and ruthless, directly at that person's back. That person was completely unprepared. When the long sword attacked him, he suddenly came to his senses. It was already too late for him to dodge, so he could only roar loudly and swing his sword behind him. However, he was affected by the array. He clearly wanted to strike behind him, but in the end he stabbed to the left. Unfortunately, his companion was in this position. His companion had been ambushed earlier, and he was incomparably fearful. Thus, when this sword attacked him, his reaction was extremely fast, and he promptly struck out with his sword, wanting to block this attack. However, the array affected divine sense. He felt that this sword was parried, but the reality was otherwise. Poo-pew. The other assassin's eyes widened, and he lowered his head to look at his chest. There was a sword tip sticking out, and another sword had pierced through his chest. He recognized this sword. It was his companion's. Such a thought flashed through his mind, and his head tilted to the side. A dead person wouldn't be affected by the array. He fell towards his companion, and just happened to fall at his companion's feet. The remaining assassin was also startled, but when he finally saw his companion's corpse, he couldn't help but turn pale. He had encountered an expert. First, he was almost struck by a sword, and then his companion was silently stabbed to death. Obviously, the opponent's strength far surpassed what was described in the information. He had been tricked. Retreat. He grabbed his companion's corpse, and then threw out a secret treasure. This was a silver shuttle. After he activated it, it emitted a silver light that enveloped him and then sank into the ground. Shio, it was gone. The array lost a living person and immediately stopped operating. Ran away. Call Snow held her sword, somewhat dissatisfied that one of them had actually run away. However, in the next instant, she immediately remembered that she had killed someone, and her hand couldn't help but tremble. Ding! The long sword fell to the ground, and she bent over to the side, violently vomiting. After a while, she finally calmed down. I don't regret it. Even if I had to do it again, not only would I kill someone, but I also wouldn't let the other person escape. Everything I have is given to me by young master, and I want to protect young master. The little maid thought to herself with incomparable determination. One night passed, and Ling Han pushed open the door, only to see Call Snow hugging a sword and dozing off in the courtyard. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Call Snow immediately jumped up, and even waved the sword in her hand, as if she was facing a formidable enemy. Call Snow, what's wrong? Ling Han asked with a smile. Call Snow heard his voice, and only then did she heave a sigh of relief. She hurriedly told him what had happened that night. Oh, assassins came. Ling Han's gaze focused on the courtyard, and there was still a pool of blood in the array that hadn't completely dried up. He thought about it and felt that there was no need to guess who was the mastermind. It was either Yan Jun or Yang Ziqing, and it was extremely likely that both of them had done it together. It wasn't hard to guess, but Ling Han was just curious. What kind of enmity did he have with Yan Jun that the other party had to keep an eye on him? No matter what, this enmity has been formed. He asked about the situation of the two assassins in detail, but the little maid didn't have any common knowledge and didn't understand anything. She only knew that they were two masked assassins. When that person left, he took out a silver shuttle. This is a secret treasure, and it can break through arrays. Ling Han murmured, it seems that I have to lay down a killing array. Chapter 3172. You bastard, if I don't kill you today, I'm not Pan Hu, the young man said, pointing at Ling Han's nose. Young Master Hu, calm down. Another shop assistant jogged over. He's not our shop assistant, he's a customer, a customer. Pan Hu snorted and said, so what if he's a customer? He can just tell me to scram. The new shop assistant was so anxious that he was about to sweat. Of course, peace was the most important thing in business. If there was a scandal that their compassionate heart medicine hall bullied a customer, how could they do business in the future? But this Pan Hu was the nephew of their boss. How could he dare to offend him? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and kick him out. Pan Hu said coldly. He looked at Ling Han and said, "With me here, don't even think about buying anything." Customer? The new shop assistant looked at Ling Han awkwardly. If he didn't kick him out, he would definitely be fired later. All right. Ling Han nodded and turned to leave. He walked slowly and said, "But don't regret it. You're smart. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer." Pan Hu said fiercely to Ling Han's back. He actually dared to threaten him. He didn't know what he was talking about. Someone came down from the second floor. Pan Hu turned around and immediately put away his arrogant expression. He went up and greeted, "Uncle." Two people came down from upstairs. The one in front was a middle-aged man who was nearly 50 years old. Ordinary people's lifespan was about 150 years old, so people under 70 years old could be called middle-aged. He was the boss of Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall, Emogwahao. He was quite a respected person in Hidden Tiger City. The other person was the shop assistant who had gone up earlier. He followed behind Emogwahao. The reason why Pan Hu could be so majestic was obviously because of Emogwahao. So in front of Emogwahao, he turned from a tiger to a cat, and could only do his best to please him. Emogwahao just nodded slightly. He had never liked this nephew, but he was the son of his sister-in-law. For the sake of his wife, he had to tolerate him. He frowned and asked, "Where's that customer?" "What customer?" Pan Hu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Emogwahao had specifically come downstairs to see the brat just now? No. How is that possible? Not only was his uncle the owner of the Benevolent Heart Medicinal Hall, he was also a middle-rank alchemist. How could he possibly lower himself to personally meet a minor character? He was thinking too much. He must be thinking too much. Emogwahao looked at the other employee and frowned. Immediately, he emitted a suffocating pressure. "I'm asking you a question." Another waiter shivered and hurriedly said, "Boss, the customer you're talking about, is he a young man who is wearing a green suit and looks to be less than 20 years old?" Emogwahao turned around and looked at the waiter who had just gone upstairs. "That's him." The waiter nodded. Pan Hu's mind went blank. What was going on? Emogwahao actually wanted to see that kid? A strong sense of foreboding rose in his heart. "Where is he?" Emogwahao asked again. He was so excited that someone had actually improved the formula of the secret power pill, which made his scalp tingle until now. He left," the other waiter said. "Why would he leave?" Emogwahao revealed a dignified expression. The other party had obviously come to sell alchemical pills, and he had even given him a completed pill, showing his incomparable sincerity. If nothing major had happened, why would the other party suddenly leave in such a hurry? "Uncle, that person was too arrogant. He was picky the moment he came in. I tried to reason with him, but he was still unconvinced and wanted to beat me up. In the end, I chased him out," Pan Hu hurriedly said. He knew that this matter could not be concealed, so he might as well say it first. At least he could distort the truth a little. Emogwahao's face darkened. How could he not understand this nephew of his? He was full of nonsense and could not be trusted at all. The other party had come to sell medicine, and it was an improved version of the secret power pill. It would not be an exaggeration to say that as long as Ling Han released the news, all the medicine shops in the Hidden Tiger City would be happy to cooperate with him. Picking and choosing. Talking nonsense. "You, go and invite that person back for me." Emogwahao suppressed his anger and said, "Usually he would let this fellow do as he pleased, but not today. He must teach him a good lesson. If you can't invite him back, you don't need to step into this place or the Mo family ever again." Pan Hu could not help but pull a long face. How had he treated Ling Han just now? Now that he had to invite him back, he could imagine what kind of expression Ling Han would give him. He had always been arrogant. How could he bear to lower his voice and beg for help? But the problem was, if he did not invite Ling Han back, then Emogwahao would clearly not recognize him as his nephew. Then, if he lost the Mo family's reputation, he would be nothing. He thought about it and felt that the only way out was to lower his head. If he were to be stubborn at this time, then he would be finished in the future. "Don't worry, uncle. I will definitely complete the task," Pan Hu said and hurriedly chased out the door. He ran all the way and soon saw Ling Han. "You, He chased after him. "Come back with me, my uncle wants to see you." He still maintained his high and mighty attitude, hoping to scare Ling Han. Ling Han stopped and said, "If you say so, then I'll see him." "It's your fortune that my uncle is willing to see you." Pan Hu said. "Do you know who my uncle is?" "Pill Master Mo Guahao. The people who ask him to refine pills can form a long line. What else do you have to be dissatisfied with?" "Scram." Ling Han waved his hand. "A good dog doesn't block the way. Scram to the side." "Brat, don't be so shameless," Pan Hu said sternly. Ling Han smiled faintly. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Pan Hu was already putting on a strong front. But even if Pan Hu's attitude was really tough, it didn't matter. He would beat him up until he became a sick cat. With the improved version of the secret power pill in his hands, would he be afraid that no medicine store would accept it? He walked with large strides, completely ignoring Pan Hu. Pan Hu gritted his teeth and hurriedly chased after him. "What do I have to do for you to leave with me?" It was still the same attitude. Ling Han chuckled and continued walking. Pan Hu broke out in a cold sweat. If he couldn't invite Ling Han back today, then he would be chased out of the family by Mo Guahao. Once he lost the Mo family's reputation, he would be no different from the ruffians on the streets. Thinking that he might become the person he usually looked down on, he had nothing to worry about. In a flash, he rushed in front of Ling Han and knelt down with a thud. "I beg you, come back with me." Ling Han looked at him calmly. Putting aside the fact that he was once a sovereign, now that he had restarted the Tao of Alchemy, he could still become an influential figure. Would he care about such a small fry kneeling to him? It wasn't that easy. He continued walking. "Master, I was wrong. I was wrong." Pan Hu repeatedly kowtowed behind him. Chapter 3173. Only then did Ling Han stop, but he didn't look back. Pan Hu saw that there was hope, so he quickly continued to kowtow, not daring to stop. At first, his face was burning. He had to kneel down in the street. How humiliating was that? But he was not a big shot. How many people knew him? Now that everyone was watching, they might forget about him in a few days. To a person like him, face was important, but compared to actual benefits, it was insignificant. "Please forgive me. I was wrong. I really need to know." He kowtowed until his scalp was broken, and the blood was dripping down his cheek. It was an indescribable misery. "What did you do wrong?" Ling Han turned around and asked. "I shouldn't have been so blind. I shouldn't have been so arrogant. I shouldn't have looked down on others." Pan Hu kept reflecting on himself, describing himself as the most shameless and morally corrupt person in the world. Ling Han just wanted to punish this person. He still wanted to do business with Mercy Medicine Hall. After all, it was the largest medicine hall in Hidden Tiger City, and its sales were also the best. Therefore, seeing Pan Hu's tears and snot, he felt that it was time to stop. "All right, get up," he said. Thank you, sir." Pan Hu carefully got up. People like him bullied the weak and feared the strong. Once he was suppressed, he was like a dog. He jogged over and said, "Sir, my uncle wants to see you." "Lead the way," Ling Han said. Business was more important. "Okay," Pan Hu answered and quickly walked in front. Soon, they returned to Mercy Medicine Hall. "I'm Mo Guahao." As soon as they entered, Mo Guahao came out to greet them. He smiled and stretched out his hands to Ling Han, looking very enthusiastic. "Sorry for the neglect just now. I'll definitely punish this kid." Ling Han. Ling Han reached out and shook hands with him. In the Yuan world, people usually saluted with hands in front, but here, they seemed to like to shake hands. He smiled. "Who doesn't make mistakes? Just change. Is he pleading on my behalf?" Pan Hu couldn't help but feel excited. He even wanted to cry. Ling Han actually interceded for him, even after he had treated him so badly. Little friend Ling is really broad-minded. Mo Guahao laughed loudly. Please come upstairs. Please." The two of them went upstairs. Of course, the other employees didn't dare to follow. Pan Hu thought for a moment, then shamelessly went up to the second floor. Mo Guahao only glanced at Pan Hu and did not drive him away, which made Pan Hu feel relieved. Go, pour 2 cups of tea over, Emoguahao instructed Pan Hu after asking Ling Han to sit down. Yes, yes. Pan Hu hurriedly left. Little friend, how many of these medicinal pills do you have? Emoguahao asked, pointing at the bottle on the table. It was the one that Ling Han had asked the waiter to bring up. With his abilities as a middle-rank alchemist, he would naturally be able to immediately determine what improvements there were in this new type of mystic power pill. Therefore, he immediately rushed down excitedly. Ling Han smiled. 10 pills a day is not a problem. 10 pills? Emoguahao was shocked. He wasn't shocked at the large number, but at being able to provide 10 pills a day so steadily. Could it be that this was refined by little friend? He asked. Otherwise, how could there be such a guarantee? Ling Han smiled. That's right. Formation Master and Alchemist were both symbols of status and synonymous with safety. He had just arrived, so he needed some protection. Emoguahao couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Such a young alchemist. To become a low-rank alchemist, one had to be able to refine at least 10 kinds of low-rank medicinal pills, and among them, at least one needed to use mental power to activate the formation. In the process of refining, mental power was also needed to control the flow of energy in the formation. Therefore, at the beginning, the requirement for mental power was very high, and it needed to be at the beginner level. However, after that, alchemy didn't have too high of a requirement for mental power. It just needed to be extremely meticulous, which was another direction of development. However, to reach beginner mental power, geniuses needed to be around 24 or 25 years old. Normal people needed to be over 30. To refine mystic power pills, beginner mental power was definitely needed. In other words, this young man in front of him had such conditions. It was too shocking. Little friend, you really are shocking. He was extremely emotional. One had to know that he had cultivated beginner mental power when he was 24 years old, which was already called a super genius. However, compared to Ling Han, Ling Han only smiled. He had always been very modest and was not arrogant. I wonder if little friend is willing to sell the improved mystic power pill recipe? Emoguahao's eyes shone. Although mystic power pills could only be used in the opening pulse realm, which was too low for the entire level of martial art, it was precisely because it was the lowest level that it had the widest market. If he could grasp this recipe and vigorously promote the new version of mystic power pills, not only could he obtain great wealth, he could also leave his name in history. The strength of the entire country's army would increase a lot, because the number of soldiers at the lowest level would definitely be the most. Ling Han shook his head. Not interested. Emoguahao couldn't help but be disappointed, but this was also within his expectations. If he could think of all this, could Ling Han not think of it? Only a fool would be able to accomplish what all alchemists wanted to do but failed to do. In reality, he was really wrong. Ling Han wouldn't care about this kind of low-level pill recipe, but he still needed to rely on the improved version of mystic power pills to earn money. Of course, he would only be able to push the price up by being the only supplier. When he learned more pill recipes, such as those that could raise the cultivation level of the blood-changing realm, he could improve them and naturally wouldn't need to rely on mystic power pills to earn money. At that time, he could sell the pill recipe. 10 pills a day. Emoguahao settled for the next best thing. With the addition of the improved version of mystic power pills, the position of the leader of Xixin Medicine Hall would be unshakable. Otherwise, Shiyun Medicine Hall and Dakang Medicine Hall wouldn't be much worse than Xixin Medicine Hall, and could surpass them at any time. Ling Han nodded. I'll give you an address. Just send someone to pick it up every evening. Emoguahao nodded. Ling Han took out another bottle, which was much larger. There were 9 mystic power pills in it, and he put it on the table. What's the price? He asked. This was naturally the most important question. Normal mystic power pills are sold for 2,000 each. This improved version has more than double the effect. The meaning is definitely not as simple as doubling the price. So, I've decided to set the price at 5,000. Emoguahao looked at Ling Han. Ling Han nodded. What about the share? You take 4,000, Emoguahao said. This share was really generous. Chapter 3174. Emogwahao was a pill refiner, but at the same time, he was also a businessman. In business, of course, he hoped to earn more money. However, he knew that if Ling Han sent this improved version of the secret power pill to other pharmacies, it would cause the traffic of other pharmacies to skyrocket. The total number of people buying medicine was fixed, and the skyrocketing of other shops would, of course, reduce the number of customers in Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall. Therefore, this must be considered. Moreover, although Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall and other pill refiners had a sales ratio of 3:1, ordinary secret power pills were only sold for 2,000 Xianbei coins each. In other words, Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall could only earn 500 Xianbei coins for each pill sold. In this way, although Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall was at a disadvantage in terms of the ratio, it actually earned quite a lot. Moreover, it could also increase the traffic and drive the sales of other pills. How profitable was this? Therefore, Emogwahao was not stupid at all. Ling Han chuckled. To him, the success rate was naturally 100%. Each furnace would be an average of 4 pills. Then, with a cost of 500, he could earn 16,000. Naturally, it was a huge profit. Okay. He nodded. Seeing that Ling Han agreed, Emogwahao could not help but become more enthusiastic because Ling Han had become his incomparably important business partner. Seeing that Emogwahao valued Ling Han so much, Panhu could not help but feel lucky. If he could not get Ling Han back, he did not know how badly he would be scolded by Emogwahao now. Boss Missouri, are there any pill recipes for sale here? Ling Han asked. He could not always find pill recipes on the internet, because higher-grade pills would not be sold there. Emogwahao was surprised. You still have spare energy to study other pill recipes? As he saw it, Ling Han had to provide 10 alchemical pills every day, so he would at least have to successfully concoct 3 batches of pills. But which low-level alchemist could guarantee a 100% success rate in concocting pills? Then this alchemist would definitely earn a lot of money. Generally speaking, it was already very impressive to achieve a success rate of 30%. Therefore, Ling Han had to refine about 10 furnaces of pills a day. He almost did not even have time to sleep. How could he have time to study new pill recipes? However, since Ling Han had asked so, Emogwahao took out his optical computer. These are the pill recipes I've collected. Which one do you want? I'll give it to you. Pill recipes were the same as martial techniques. They were both incomparably precious. Therefore, when Emogwahao said this, he really did Ling Han a great favor. Ling Han nodded and said, "Thank you, Boss Missouri." He looked. Emogwahao had collected more than 100 pill formulas, which were divided into 3 major categories: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. For the beginner category, the most practical ones were the pulse-probing pill and the secret power pill. Ling Han had only gotten the formula for the secret power pill, but not the pulse-probing pill, so he said, "I'll learn the pulse-probing pill first." Emogwahao was surprised. From Ling Han's tone, it seemed that learning this meridian-probing pill wasn't enough, and he still wanted to learn other pill formulas in the future. Do you really have that much time? The specific pill recipe is on the optical computer. You'll know once you open it, he said. In his heart, he felt that Ling Han was young and full of vigor. That was why he wanted to learn everything. He felt too good about himself. However, after hitting a few walls, his mentality would adjust. Ling Han looked carefully, and very soon he had memorized all the ingredients and concoction methods of the vein-probing pill. He went through them in his mind. The only difference between the concoction methods of this world and that of the origin world was that one used fire, while the other used a formation to draw in energy. Putting aside this point, whether it was the pulse-probing pill or the secret power pill, the difficulty of refining them was child's play. Ling Han dared to guarantee that even if he started refining now, he would be able to easily refine the pulse-probing pill and guarantee success on the first try. The Pill Dao Emperor was just that confident. "Then I'll take my leave first," Ling Han said. He had already completely grasped the pulse-probing pill. The next question was whether he could improve the pill formula to increase the success rate of the pulse-probing pill. "I'll send you down." Emogwahao accompanied Ling Han downstairs. He asked the cashier to bring 40,000 Xianbei coins to Ling Han. This was used to pay for the 10 improved secret power pills. Ling Han didn't stand on ceremony. Anyway, Emoguahao wouldn't lose out. The only difference was how much he earned. "Uncle, I'll send young Master Han back," Pan Hu suddenly said. Emoguahao was surprised. When did this nephew of his become sensible? He naturally hoped to have a good relationship with Ling Han, but he was much older, so it was difficult for them to have a common topic. It was not as convenient as Pan Hu. However, he was worried that Pan Hu would mess up the matter, and then a good thing would turn into a bad thing. "You have to be careful," he warned. "I understand," Pan Hu said. Pan Hu said. Since his uncle thought so highly of Ling Han, he would naturally treat Ling Han as if he was his uncle. No, he would be even more respectful, because this was equivalent to flattering both of them at once. "Young friend Ling, let Huzi send you off," Emoguahao said with a smile. "You're both youngsters, so you should have a common topic." Ling Han thought that he had lived in the origin world for who knew how many years and was definitely an old monster. Who here would have a common topic with him? However, he didn't mind, so he nodded. "Young Master Han, please," Pan Hu said respectfully. Pan Hu said respectfully. His humble attitude was inconceivable to the workers in the shop. When did that second-generation rich kid become another person? The two of them walked out. Along the way, Pan Hu picked out some funny things to share with Ling Han. He was an ignorant and incompetent person. The so-called funny things were all related to women, which made Ling Han show an expression of impatience very quickly. In terms of reading people's expressions, Pan Hu was rather perceptive. He hurriedly shut his mouth and thought, could it be that this young Master Han doesn't like women? Hiss, if he didn't like women, then he liked men? Should he sell his chrysanthemum to curry favor with Ling Han? Forget it, the sacrifice was too great. At least, there was no need for that now. They hailed a cab and returned to Ling Han's residence. Of course, there was no need for Ling Han to pay. Pan Hu rushed to pay for the cab, and even wanted to enter the house to continue chatting with Ling Han. In the end, however, he was politely rejected by Ling Han. Pan Hu, on the other hand, was not too disappointed. After all, he had just offended Ling Han, and it was already not easy for him to repair his relationship to this extent. How could he hope to become Ling Han's best friend so quickly? He decided that from tomorrow onwards, he would be the one collecting the medicine. This way, he could communicate with Ling Han every day. Tiske, he was really too smart. After standing outside Ling Han's residence for a while, he hailed a taxi and returned. Once Ling Han returned to his residence, he started to concoct the pulse exploring pill. He had a strong interest in concocting pills. As expected, after only 2 hours, he successfully concocted the first batch of pulse exploring pill. With the help of the God's Stone and his talent in alchemy, it wasn't strange to succeed on the first try. Ling Han tasted one pill and savored it carefully. After a while, he smiled and mumbled, "I can increase the effect to 20%. With a wave of her hand, a heavy slap landed on that man's face. The man didn't expect Huan Shui to really dare to make a move. He also put on a posture of being slapped, so he naturally couldn't dodge. This slap made him see stars. One had to know that Huan Shui had advanced another step and possessed 7 meridians cultivation. How could such a huge slap in the face be pleasant? Fortunately, Huan Shui didn't use her full strength, or his face would have been slapped into a pulp. You dare hit me." The man was stunned, and then he revealed a furious expression. He also slapped Huan Shui. Huan Shui dodged and then counterattacked. She was 7 meridians while the man only had 6. Thus, after a few moves, Huan Shui completely gained the upper hand. Then she slapped the man's face like it was his butt. Pa, crisp and clear. "What are you doing, you crazy woman? Let go of young Master Ming," the beautiful woman screamed, but she wasn't a cultivator and could only shout from the side. "Isn't that Zhong Yangbi's younger brother, Zhong Yangming?" someone said from the side. Although he isn't much, his older brother Zhong is quite extraordinary. He became a novice alchemist at only 27 and has the reputation of being the second Emoguahao. Yes, Zhong Yangbi really is extraordinary. He's one of the most popular figures in the younger generation. He, Yanjun, and Baba Tianhuang are known as the three heroes. They represent the most outstanding talents in alchemy, formations, and martial art. But to tell the truth, it's fortunate that Zhong Yangbi and Yanjun are representatives of alchemy and formations. Otherwise, if they were in martial art, who could compare to Tuoba Tianhuang? Indeed, Tuoba Tianhuang is a genius that only appears once in 100 years in martial art. In the future, he will become an overlord that looks down on the world. People like Zhong Yangbi and Yanjun are not his match. We're getting off topic. We're talking about Zhong Yangming. Him? He's just an idiot. But isn't he afraid of Zhong Yangbi's anger by bullying his younger brother like this? That's right. Today is the auction that Zhong Yangbi's master, Master Mo Guahao, is holding. He'll definitely attend. Zhong Yangbi definitely won't let this go if he finds out that he's beaten Zhong Yangming here. The surrounding people discussed animatedly. Most of them loved to watch a good show, and the scene that had just happened was very much in line with their mentality of watching a good show. Did you hear that? Zhong Yangming roared. My brother is Zhong Yangbi, and my brother's master is Master Mo Guahao. Master Mo, if you anger me, I guarantee that you won't be able to buy a single pill in Hidden Tiger City. Ling Han only chuckled and pretended that he hadn't heard. Pa, Call Snow gave him a heavy slap. He actually dared to challenge her young master? Enough. Ling Han waved his hand, and Call Snow immediately stopped. What's going on? Why is it so noisy? A man walked out with an impatient expression. Didn't they know that today was a big day for the Benevolent Heart Medicinal Hall? Young Master Hu? Brother Hu? Everyone called out, appearing very polite. This was Pan Hu. Although he was an idiot, he was Mo Guahao's nephew. One had to know that a few days ago, Mo Guahao had released an improved version of the secret power pill, and now there was an improved version of the pulse probing pill being auctioned. Even the city lord was alarmed, and he had expressed several times that Mo Guahao's improvements were a huge contribution that could be recorded in the annals of history and become a pillar of the country. With the rising tide, the boat also rose, and Pan Hu also became a hot commodity. Brother Hu? Zhong Yangming pounced over, his face full of grievance. You almost killed me, do you know that? Do you know who young Master Han is? He roared angrily. Young Master Han Zhong Yangming was stunned. He couldn't wrap his head around this. Who was young Master Han? It was impossible for him to connect young Master Han with Ling Han. How could this be possible? He had obviously seen all of Brother Hu's friends, but there was no such person. Peng, peng, peng. After a round of beating, Pan Hu forced Zhong Yangming to kneel in front of Ling Han and said, quickly kowtow and apologize to young Master Han. What young Master Han was this young man in front of him? Zhong Yangming finally understood why Pan Hu wanted to hit him. He couldn't help but feel shocked. What kind of background did this person have that even brother who had to address as young master? Perhaps one word from him could decide his life or death. He finally knew fear and said in a trembling voice, young Master Han, I was wrong. Cow. Pan Hu gave him a kick. Fuck, he had already kowtowed more than 10 times on the streets. Did he think he could get away with it just like that? Zhong Yangming had no choice but to kowtow again. Ling Han then said calmly, you don't have to kowtow to me, but to this driver. He pointed at the driver who was still hiding in the car. Zhong Yangming revealed an obvious expression of resistance and kowtowed to young Master Han. He accepted it. After all, even brother who had to address him as young master. But this driver, fuck, if he had to apologize to a lowly driver, then how could he continue to work in the future? Pa. His hesitation immediately caused him to receive a slap from Pan Hu. Young Master Han asked you to apologize, and you still dare to hesitate. Do you believe that I won't slap you to death? Pan Hu said in a fierce tone. In order to curry favor with Ling Han, he really dared to kill someone. Zhong Yangming was finally afraid. Pan Hu's menacing expression was definitely not an act. He said to the driver, I'm sorry. The driver was filled with fear and trepidation. Now that he naturally knew who Zhong Yangming was, would he attract trouble in the future if he was apologized to like this? He was just an ordinary driver. How could he afford to offend a rich second generation like Zhong Yangming? Ling Han naturally saw the driver's worry and said calmly, "Don't worry, even if you lose a strand of hair in the future, I'll make second young master Zhong pay." Zhong Yangming's eyes widened. Making him pay even if he lost a strand of hair, then he would be too wronged. Oh, if this guy was chopped up, then he would have to pay with his life. Ling Han cracked a smile. You guessed right, that's the reason. What reason? Absolutely unreasonable. Hearing Ling Han say this, the driver felt relieved. It was good that there were no future troubles. Young masters, I'll be leaving now, he said. Wait, Ling Han said with a smile, don't be in such a hurry. You haven't paid the fare, and you haven't paid for the broken headlight either. No need, the driver hurriedly said. I have to. Ling Han looked at Zhong Yangming and said, whoever breaks something will be responsible for the compensation, understand? Zhong Yangming had learned his lesson this time. He hurriedly took out his money and stuffed a handful of bills into the driver's hand. It's too much. There's no need for this much. The driver was an honest person. Everyone looked on, and they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 3178. Who is this guy? How could he make these two good-for-nothings act so obediently? The driver left, and order was restored. People got out of the cars one after another, but they didn't go in. They were all discussing on the side. They wanted to know who Ling Han was, to be able to make Pan Hu treat him with such respect. Definitely not Zhong Yangbi. Nonsense. If that person was Zhong Yangbi, Zhong Yangming wouldn't have gotten into conflict with him, and Zhong Yangbi wouldn't be able to suppress Pan Hu like this. Could it be Yan Jun? I don't think so. Yan Jun is already 24 or 25 years old. His age doesn't match. Moreover, Yan Jun can't suppress Pan Hu either. Then it must be Tuoba Tianhuang. Yes, Tuoba Tianhuang is about this age. He's the number one in the younger generation of martial art, and will definitely become an overlord in the future. It's reasonable for Pan Hu to flatter him like this. But Tuoba Tianhuang already has 12 meridians. What is he doing here? That person isn't Tuoba Tianhuang. Tuoba Tianhuang's appearance is very unique. His hair is unbound, and he's unrestrained. He's definitely not like that person. Moreover, Pan Hu calls him young Master Han. That's strange. Which young man in the city has such prestige? The son of the city lord. The young master of the richest Yen clan. But he doesn't have the word Han in his name. Everyone discussed, but they couldn't guess Ling Han's identity. In fact, even if someone recognized Ling Han and said he was a vice captain of the Black-Green Banner, no one would believe it. Under Pan Hu's lead, Ling Han entered the private room that had been prepared for him. As for Zhong Yangming, he couldn't be bothered with him for now. He would deal with him later. He almost ruined his plans. He really wanted to strangle this bastard to death. Zhong Yangming was ignored. Occasionally, there would be a mocking glance, which made him extremely indignant. He really couldn't accept it. Most importantly, he didn't even know who Ling Han was. This beating really made him sullen. Yangming, what's going on with you? A low voice came from behind Zhong Yangming, and a tall man appeared behind him. He looked to be about 28 or 29 years old. Brother. Zhong Yangming was overjoyed and rushed over. This gave Zhong Yangbi a fright. In public, two grown men were hugging each other. What a scandal! He dodged and didn't let Zhong Yangming pounce on him, but one of his thighs was still hugged by Zhong Yangming, causing him to grit his teeth. This scene was still a bit too beautiful to look at. Let go, he whispered. Brother, you must avenge me. Zhong Yangming had finally found a real big tree. How could he let it go? Seeing this scene, the surrounding people all laughed. Zhong Yangbi felt a burning sensation on his face. He quickly pulled his younger brother up and ran into Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall. He was Mo Guahao's most outstanding disciple, and his status in the medicinal hall was actually higher than Pan Hu's. He also booked a private room and asked his younger brother about the situation. After Zhong Yangming explained everything in detail, Zhong Yangbi's face couldn't help but become gloomy. That dog Panhu. Apart from being arrogant and despotic, what else does he know? Now he's even better. He's actually stretching his elbows out and bullying his own people. He's a traitor. Zhong Yangming might be afraid of Panhu, but he wasn't. In fact, he even looked down on him. "Don't worry, I'll definitely avenge you," said Zhong Yangbi. But since the auction was about to start, it wasn't appropriate for him to clash with Panhu. He decided to wait for the auction to start first. This was something Mo Guahao valued greatly, and he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. He sincerely admired and even respected Mo Guahao. He was actually able to improve the meridian probing pill and secret energy pill, creating a miracle in the past 100 years. This was beneficial to the country and its people. In the future, he might even be summoned by the emperor. Thinking of the ruler of Xianbei, Zhong Yangbi couldn't help being even more devout. That was a true legend, and everyone in the country treated him like a god. The auction quickly began, and the person in charge was actually Mo Guahao himself. The Merciful Heart Medicine Hall was very large. When it was first built, they'd already considered the possibility of holding an auction in the future, so they'd gone in this direction. The Merciful Heart Medicine Hall had held several auctions before, but this was the first time they'd held one purely for a single type of medicine. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome." Mo Guahao's face was glowing. "You've all seen the information. Today, we'll be auctioning an improved version of the meridian probing pill. It can increase the chances of sensing new meridians to around 20%. I swear on my own reputation that there is absolutely no falsehood in this." The audience was in an uproar. They'd all received an invitation from the Merciful Heart Medicine Hall and knew of the appearance of the improved meridian probing pill. Now that they'd heard Mo Guahao's words, they were naturally excited. This meant that many people's stagnant cultivation could once again advance. "I have a total of 90 meridian probing pills here. The rules are as follows. 10 pills will be sold in groups. In other words, everyone will have 9 chances to win." Damn. Hearing this, everyone wanted to scold Mo Guahao for being a profiteer. If they were auctioned one by one, there'd be a total of 90 pills. At least half of them wouldn't fetch a high price. After all, there were plenty of them, and they'd just have to wait for the next one. But it was different now. There were only 9 groups. They had to go all out. Mo Guahao smiled. Although he was an alchemist, he was also an outstanding businessman. Maximizing his profits was his pursuit. Then let's begin. The auction began. Everyone seemed to be on steroids, immediately bidding crazily, as if it wasn't money, but just a number. The first group of meridian probing pills was sold for a high price of 260,000. On average, one pill was sold for 26,000, while a normal meridian probing pill was sold for only 5,000. The difference was really huge. The following auction was still very popular, because there were only 9 groups. In just an hour, all 9 groups of meridian probing pills were auctioned off for a total of 2,520,000 Xianbei coins. This was a very shocking number. Ling Han believed that if he sold it himself, it would be very good if he could sell it for half the price. This was because Mo Guahao and the Merciful Heart Medicine Hall were their signboards. This was an intangible value. Of course, there were only 90 meridian probing pills. This was also a very important reason. After all, the rarer something was, the greater its value. However, Mo Guahao's final words almost made those who had taken a photo die from anger, and those who didn't became excited again. In the future, the Merciful Heart Medicine Hall will hold an auction every week, including but not limited to the improved meridian probing pill. Fuck, profiteer, truly a profiteer. Too fraudulent, too shady. Not only was he a genius in formations, but he was also a monster in alchemy. Hadn't he been scared off before and lost the bet? Could the pulse probing pill that Mo Guahao auctioned yesterday have something to do with you? He suddenly cried out. But then he thought about it and shook his head. That's impossible. That's a problem that has plagued alchemy for 100 years. If you can solve it as soon as you enter, that's too inconceivable. Ling Han was startled. The old man was quite good at making connections, but he wasn't brave enough. "I'm leaving," said Long Chin. He had already found the method to create the 1,000-cloud formation. The only problem now was how to get the 30,000 jade seeds. "Hey, just where are you going to get so much money?" Niu Huaqing was curious. He didn't believe that Ling Han just wanted to learn this formation. Ling Han didn't reply. He just waved his hand. Every day, he refined a few pulse-probing pills and secret energy pills. Then he cultivated, pushing his cultivation towards the 11th meridian. 2 days later, no one accepted his order, and the advance payment was automatically returned. Another 4 days later, the Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall held a second auction. This time, there were even fewer vein-probing pills, only 50 of them, yet they were sold for the high price of 30,000 coins per pill. The total value was 1,500,000 coins, and Ling Han had suddenly obtained a wealth of over 1 million coins. He went to buy the jade seeds. The payment was simple. He only needed to press his finger and the fingerprint matched. The money would automatically be transferred away. There was no need to bring cash. But to transport the 30,000 jade seeds back, the store had to specially send them over. Now, everything was ready. He just had to wait for his 11th meridian to break through. Soon it would be 2 days at most. However, on that very day, he was summoned by the city lord and paid a visit to him. The city lord of Hidden Tiger City, Feng Zixing, looked to be in his 40s. His entire body emitted a shocking blood qi, like a ferocious beast. As long as he moved, he would explode with shocking power. He praised Ling Han thoroughly, but did not say anything specific. The duration of the interview was only 5 minutes, and after that, he allowed Ling Han to return. "What cultivation does this Feng Zixing have?" Standing in front of him, I feel like I'm completely suppressed. This shouldn't be the blood transformation realm, but the realm above it. But no one has ever told me what realm is above the blood transformation realm. When Ling Han returned home, he did not care about these things for now. What he needed to do now was to charge up to the 11th meridian, then the 12th meridian, and finally the blood transformation tier. No matter where it was, power was king, was the foundation, and was everything. 2 days later, Ling Han had reached the peak of the 10th meridian. "I can break through to the 11th meridian now." Ling Han went to sense the 11th meridian. He didn't need the help of the meridian exploring elixir at all. He quickly sensed it, and then guided the mysterious power of heaven and earth to rush over, opening the meridian in one move. But the sun had risen. The time of the day suitable for cultivation had passed. Activate the Nouveau Riche Array. Ling Han set up the 1,000-cloud array. The 30,000 jade seeds were divided into 10 piles. They were all like small hills, looking extremely spectacular. "Come on." He used his mental energy to activate the formation. Instantly, the 10 piles of jade seeds all lit up. Then one by one, the jade seeds shattered, and jade light soared, turning into some kind of mysterious power that surged towards Ling Han. Boom! Ling Han only felt his body shake. An incomparably dense power surged over. He hurriedly used the Monkey King's technique to absorb as much power as possible. Otherwise, if it overflowed into the array, it would be a complete waste. Chapter 3181. Hong, the 11th meridian widened at a crazy rate. The power that surged into his body was really too astonishing. It cleansed Ling Han's meridians over and over again, clearing away the impurities and widening his meridians. The 30,000 jade seeds seemed to be burning, releasing their own essence, turning into endless energy that was fed to Ling Han. The 30,000 jade seeds seemed to be burning, releasing their own essence, turning into endless energy that was fed to Ling Han. 11 meridians mid-stage, late stage, peak, the speed was shocking. But the pile of jade seeds was almost used up. What a tycoon! In less than half a day, 30,000 jade seeds and 3 million xianbei coins were gone just like that. Just a little more. Ling Han said in his heart as he started to break through the 12th meridian. He sensed it. He guided the last bit of energy to break through. Like a flood crashing on the shore, the blocked meridian was quickly opened, completing the first circulation. At this point, all 12 main meridians were opened. This was the peak of the illuminating pulse realm. Brother! A voice suddenly sounded in Ling Han's mind. It was Brother Monkey. Ling Han was shocked. Brother Monkey was free. Don't worry. Old Sun left these words in your mind. It will only be triggered when you reach the 12th meridian. Brother Monkey's voice sounded again. So that's why. Ling Han nodded. What was Brother Monkey trying to tell him? Your cultivation was too low, so it was meaningless. So Old Sun left it until now, Monkey continued. Under normal circumstances, the peak of the illuminating pulse realm is indeed the 12th meridian. But if you want to pursue the ultimate realm, then you are only halfway there. Apart from the 12 main meridians, there are 8 extraordinary meridians in the human body. The 8 extraordinary meridians are also known as the hidden meridians. It is 10 times harder to sense them than the main meridians. That's why there are pitifully few people who can open the extraordinary meridians. But to reach the peak of martial art, you have to do what others can't. Brother, don't be greedy. Although the illuminating pulse realm is insignificant, it is the foundation of a towering building. Without a solid foundation, you can forget about anything else. Remember. Ling Han listened quietly, but after memorizing it, the monkey's voice no longer rang out. He murmured, Brother Monkey didn't tell me at that time. Maybe he was afraid of hurting me. Hee, Brother Monkey, you don't know that I am a person with a strong will. My goal is to hone myself to the extreme of every stage. If you are the same as the masses, you are destined to vanish into the masses. So, if you really want to stand out, it's not enough to just rely on having wider meridians. You have to open more meridians. Then if I open one of my meridians, will I be comparable to the blood transformation realm? It'll probably be very difficult. After all, it's a huge leap in realm. But I believe that after opening 4 or 5 meridians, my strength should not lose to the blood transformation realm. Alright, work hard to earn money, and then set up a rich formation. Having used up all the jade seeds, Ling Han stood up. He had thought that he would be able to attack the blood transformation realm, but he hadn't expected that he would only be halfway to meridian opening. If he wanted to increase his cultivation quickly, he would need to use the nouveau riche formation or natural treasures like the crouching caltrop fruit. However, natural treasures were not things that one could obtain just because one wanted them. So, the latter was naturally more practical. Ling Han began to refine pills with all his might. Every pill was a cornerstone for him to increase his strength. With one more pill, his cornerstone would be a little more stable. Large amounts of mystic power surged again and surged towards Ling Han. Come. Ling Han circulated the Monkey King's cultivation method and pushed this power to circulate in his body. The 12th meridian was rapidly broadened. In just half a day, it had reached its limit and could not advance any further. Otherwise, his meridian would only shatter. Alright, feel the 8 extraordinary meridians. Ling Han thought about it and took a meridian probing pill. Although he was confident in himself, he could obviously reduce the difficulty. Why did he have to make things difficult for himself? Just as Monkey King said, the 8 extraordinary meridians were too difficult to feel. Even if the meridian probing pill could help, the meridian probing pill should be suitable for the normal meridians. If it was to explore the extraordinary meridians, the effect might drop to half or even lower. Ling Han spread his telekinesis and examined his body, looking for a breakthrough point. Summon snow, come. Chapter 3182. Once the nouveau riche array was activated, it could not be stopped unless the energy was exhausted. Right now, Ling Han was checking his meridians. He only needed a little bit of energy. Any more would be a waste, and there were no meridians for him to expand. Therefore, he couldn't waste it. The little maid entered the array and absorbed the boundless energy. Her cultivation level immediately increased rapidly. The energy she needed was not too pure. From this point of view, her cultivation speed was 10 times faster than Ling Han's. However, the efficiency of the Xian Yellow art in absorbing energy could not be compared to the Monkey King's technique. Therefore, under normal cultivation, Ling Han's progress was actually faster. Ling Han ignored her and focused all his attention on himself, exploring the first 8 extraordinary meridians. About an hour later, his body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Young master, what's wrong?" Huan Xue hurriedly went to support him. The array formation had stopped operating half an hour ago, and the jade seeds had all been consumed. "I'm fine." Ling Han smiled, a look of ecstasy on his face. He had found the first mysterious scripture, but because the formation had stopped, he could not draw energy from it, so he could not open it. Ling Han put in the jade seed again. It was the second time. Hong, the surging power came again. Ling Han guided this power and opened up the first extraordinary sutra. Then he expanded it again and again, and his cultivation level increased extremely quickly. After another half a day, Ling Han stopped. He had already expanded the first extraordinary scripture to its limit. He didn't use the last batch of jade seeds because he wanted to sense the second extraordinary scripture first. He would use the morning cultivation time to open it up and then use the tyrant array to expand it to the extreme. Unfortunately, the next morning, Ling Han did not sense the second extraordinary scripture, which made him a little disappointed. He turned on his optical computer and started searching on the internet. He couldn't find any information related to the 8 extraordinary meridians. In the end, he posted a reward before anyone answered. The 8 extraordinary meridians are called the hidden meridians. Apparently, they belong to the illuminating pulse realm. In other words, the limit of the illuminating pulse realm is 20 meridians. However, I've never heard of anyone opening a meridian. It's just a legend. It's also said that the 8 extraordinary meridians are the governing meridian, Ren meridian, Chong meridian, Dai meridian, Yangwei meridian, and Yangwei meridian, but there's only one name. It's hard to confirm whether it's true or not. Although there was very little information, it was at least the only introduction to the 8 extraordinary meridians that Ling Han had obtained. Thus, he very readily agreed with this answer and paid. In any case, it was not expensive, only $1. It's a pity that Brother Monkey didn't tell me more, so I can only cover my eyes and feel around. Fortunately, I can continue to feel my meridians. After another day, Ling Han finally sensed the second main meridian. He used the power of early morning to open it up, and then used the tyrant formation to expand it to the limit. One on my back, the other on my abdomen, like yin and yang. Vaguely, my 12 standard meridians have also converged with them, forming some sort of connection. My meridians are unobstructed. I feel like there's a huge dragon hiding in my body. It has the power to overturn rivers and seas. Right, let's test out my current strength. He ran to the camp of the black-green flag. Because it was nighttime and he was very low-key, only the guards knew that he had come and did not alarm anyone else. He went to the training ground and found a dynamometer. Peng, he punched out, and the result was tragic. This strength testing machine was actually smashed to pieces by him, emitting a loud sound. Ling Han immediately broke into a run, because he had already heard the commotion, and many people were rushing over. He ran out, and after a while, he saw 3 people coming out of the training ground, discussing. How strange. Who would be so bored as to actually dismantle the dynamometer? Could it have been broken by someone? How is that possible? That's enough to withstand strength at the peak of 12 meridians. Have you ever seen a captain break the dynamometer during a demonstration? But who would purposely destroy the dynamometer? Perverted. Crazy. Retard. The 3 all came to the conclusion that this person was definitely crazy. Damn. Ling Han immediately scuttled out from the shadows. Captain Ling. When the 3 saw Ling Han, their faces were full of surprise and incomparable admiration. In the end, they were beaten up by Ling Han, screaming in agony. However, after Ling Han stopped, he threw each of them a vein-searching pill, which could be considered as payment for their medical expenses. Hiss, what's wrong with Captain Ling? Why did he beat us up for no reason? He must have fallen out of love. This is a pulse-probing pill. Damn, 5,000 for one. What a profit. Being beaten up can be exchanged for a pulse-probing pill. I'm willing to be trampled on every day. Captain Ling is too awesome. The three were puzzled at first, but quickly became excited. If they knew this was an improved version of the pulse-probing pill, they would definitely be even more surprised. Aren't you on leave? What are you doing here? A cold voice rang out from behind Ling Han. Ling Han turned around to see Lien Shuerong standing behind him. He smiled. Flagmaster, I'm here to test my strength. You've broken through 11 meridians? Lien Shuerong asked, surprise flashing across her face. It hadn't even been a month and this kid had gone from 10 meridians to 11 meridians. Yes, I'm at the peak of 12 meridians now, said Ling Han. Lien Shuerong's expression froze. 12 meridians? Was that even possible? It hadn't even been a month. Did he think he'd just started cultivating? With the spirit-gathering formation, a miracle could indeed happen. All right, attack me with your full strength. She recovered. All right. Ling Han brandished his fist, using Lien Shuerong as a strength-measuring device. He wanted to see just how far he was from the blood transformation realm after opening 2 meridians. Lien Shuerong almost kicked him. This kid's eyes were too hateful. Come, she said coldly. She had already decided that after Ling Han's fist landed, she would return the favor with a palm to teach him a lesson. Ling Han gathered all his power and then shot out a punch. This punch was extraordinarily fast. The fist force compressed the air, emitting crackling sounds. Under the release of the force, it actually turned into a fist visible to the naked eye, striking towards Lien Shuerong. This punch was so fast that it even surpassed the speed of sound, making it visible to the naked eye. Lien Shuerong immediately revealed a shocked expression. It had to be known that even peak 12 meridians couldn't make their punches reach the speed of sound. That was an ability only those in the blood transformation realm possessed. So seeing the power of Ling Han's punch, she was naturally shocked. If she didn't know it was Ling Han, she really would have thought it was a blood transformation expert attacking. Bang, the punch arrived. Chapter 3184. Face Retaining Pill, Women's Favorite, especially beautiful women, who doesn't want to preserve their most beautiful side forever. Ling Han soon saw the information of the face-retaining pill on the trading platform. Of course, it was not a finished product, but a remnant recipe. In the previous civilization, there was indeed something like the face-retaining pill. However, with the destruction of the civilization, the recipe of the face-retaining pill was also destroyed and could not be completely preserved to this day. On this pill recipe, there was only the introduction of the face-retaining pill, as well as the color, smell, and judgment method of the pill. As for the specific materials needed, it was missing a corner. There were not many, at most 4 medicinal materials, but no matter how much modern alchemists studied it, they could not make up for it. Damn, the remnant recipe is also selling for 10,000 Xianbei coins. Do you really think money comes from the wind? Ling Han looked at the transaction information and couldn't help gritting his teeth. But only this person posted the transaction, so Ling Han could only accept it and bid for the pill recipe. What could be seen on it was only the introduction of the function of the face-retaining pill. Below it were many messages, most of which were left by women, imploring a master to restore this pill recipe for the benefit of the world. After Ling Han paid the money, the complete pill recipe appeared in front of him. He glanced at the materials, then went to understand the specific use of each material, and then began to think. In the Yuan world, there is also the face-retaining pill, so what Ling Han has to do is very simple, that is, to compare the two and find the missing corner. In less than half a day, Ling Han murmured, I have 3 plans, I don't know which one is the most correct. He immediately went to buy medicinal materials and then began to refine pills. The face-retaining pill has very low requirements for the formation, so it is easy to match. Ling Han sent out his mind power to activate the formation, then turned his spiritual force into a hand and threw the medicinal materials into the formation. Using mental strength to grab medicinal herbs would further reduce the impurities. No matter what, his hands would always be stained with something. However, in the Yuan world, Ling Han's strength was too strong. Naturally, his hands would not be stained with the slightest bit of dust, so it didn't matter. Therefore, Ling Han was gradually developing the habit of using mental strength to grab medicinal herbs. This was just a low-level pill, and it was very easy to refine. After 2 hours, Ling Han succeeded on his first try. Let's try the other 2. He also refined the Agerasia pills corresponding to the other 2 plans, a total of 14 pills. He tasted each of the 3 pills, and with his abilities as the Alchemy Emperor, he immediately made a judgment that the second method would have the best effect. The other 2 can maintain one's youth for about 3 years, but this one lasts for 5 years. Furthermore, it can make one's skin glow. Ling Han nodded and decisively threw away the defective product. How could the Alchemy Emperors sell defective products? This should be able to sell for a high price. I'll go find Mo Guahao and simply give the pill recipe to him. I'll take a cut directly, and it'll save me some effort. Otherwise, I'll have to refine more and more pills, and how will I have time? It doesn't matter if I earn a little less. The fundamental purpose of my alchemy isn't for money, but to increase my strength and prepare for when Luan Xing and the others come into being. Ling Han made a trip to the Benevolent Heart Medicine Hall. Coincidentally, he had just arrived at the door when he saw Zhong Yangbi coming out from inside. The latter also discovered him at the same time, and his eyes immediately became fierce as if he wanted nothing more than to devour him. Ling Han, he said through gritted teeth. Ling Han acted as if he didn't hear anything. He entered the medicine hall and directly went up to the 2nd floor. Mo Guahao had already instructed the employees that Ling Han could come and go as he pleased here. He was magnificently ignored. Zhong Yangbi clenched his fists, filled with fury. He really couldn't understand why his master would be so polite to a deputy captain of the Black Azure Banner. Wasn't he just good at fighting? But no matter how good he was at fighting, could he compare to Oba Tianhuang? I definitely won't swallow this insult, he said in his heart. How could Ling Han care? He went up to the 2nd floor and entered Mo Guahao's study. The latter just happened to have finished settling the accounts and was drinking tea. Young friend Ling, how come you have the time to come over and play today? Mo Guahao asked with a smile. He knew that Ling Han was an alchemy maniac. Otherwise, he definitely couldn't have concocted 900 vein probing pills in a week. That was practically like a madman. Speaking of which, he still couldn't understand how Ling Han had concocted so many vein probing pills, because even if he had a 100% success rate and concocted for 24 hours a day, the time was still far from enough. Ling Han took out a bottle of alchemical pills, placed it on the table and said, "These are retaining youth pills." Pooh. Poor Mo Guahao had just taken a sip of tea, but he instantly spat it all out, causing him to cough incessantly. Was it real or fake? Young friend, you really are nature-defying. He hurriedly grabbed the pill bottle, opened it, and poured out a pill to observe closely. With regards to Ling Han's talent in alchemy, other than feeling deeply moved, there was nothing else he could say. After a while, Mo Guahao revealed a shocked expression and said, "This is indeed an retaining youth pill. It completely matches the description on the pill recipe. This smell, this color, and..." He pinched a little and tasted it, then nodded. "And this taste, after taking it, there's a vitality factor, huh?" He was even more shocked. There's actually a trace of whitening effect. This was not just an retaining youth pill, it was practically a whitening youth pill. Young friend. His face was full of excitement. The improvement of the vein probing pill and the secret power pill is beneficial to the country and the people, enough to let you shine brilliantly for 100 generations. However, the completion of this retaining youth pill can truly bring you mountains of gold and silver. Oh, does the retaining youth pill have such a great effect? Ling Han said with a smile. This is not a question of whether or not one's strength can be improved, but a question of how much women are willing to pay for this thing. Mo Guahao was deeply moved. Although the main earning force in this world is men, the main spending force is women. And to keep their youth forever, this is every woman's dream. How much money are you willing to pay for this dream? He asked Ling Han. Let's go bankrupt. Ling Han said. This was the truth. You see, he spent more than 10 million without blinking his eyes. Wasn't it just to improve his cultivation a little faster? Emoguahao said with a smile. So, even if a retaining youth pill is sold for 100,000 yuan, it is guaranteed that the supply will not meet the demand. No matter how large the quantity is, there is no need to worry about not being able to sell it. Ling Han nodded. I want to give this pill recipe to you. In the future, for every retaining youth pill sold, I will take 10%. This? Emoguahao looked at Ling Han in surprise. He had just analyzed with Ling Han how popular the retaining youth pill would be, but in the next moment, Ling Han was willing to give up the pill recipe and only take 10%. A good man. No, this was so good that he was a fool. Chapter 3185. Falling in love with you, little friend, are you really willing to give the pill formulas to me? Young friend, are you really willing to give the pill formula to me? Even with Emoguahao's temperament, he was somewhat unable to maintain his composure. His heart violently trembled. Ling Han was at ease. This kind of low-grade medicinal pill could only earn the money of those at the bottom of society and satisfy his current cultivation needs. You see, if he really reached the blood-changing tier, or even higher, would money still be able to buy the materials he needed? Impossible. Once he reached a certain level, it would definitely be an exchange of goods and treasures. Not just the face-halting pill, but also the improved secret power pill and pulse-probing pill. The conditions are the same, said Ling Han. Emoguahao was so shocked his scalp went numb. No, he revised his evaluation of Ling Han. This wasn't a good person, nor was he an idiot, but a saint. Yes, he was definitely a saint, full of integrity. No, 10% is too little. I want at least 50%. Emoguahao recovered and hastily said. As long as he obtained any one of the pill formulas, he was confident he would become rich. With 3, the position of the richest man in Xianbei State was waving at him. You provide manpower, money, and effort. I only provide 1 pill formula, so 10% is enough, laughed Ling Han. No, 40% it is, insisted Emoguahao. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely say the two of them were idiots. Wasn't that right? There was actually someone who was willing to give away benefits for free. If he wasn't an idiot, then what was he? In the end, after much persuasion, Emoguahao finally got Ling Han to accept the 30% share, letting him sigh in relief. It wasn't that he didn't want to make money, but that Ling Han had too much room to grow. In the future, he would definitely become a giant in the pill Dao. At that time, if word got out that he had taken advantage of Ling Han, then everyone's spit would be enough to drown him. As a businessman, of course, he did it for profit, but his heart couldn't be black. Ling Han gave all 3 pill recipes to Emoguahao and asked him to immediately promote the face-retaining pill, but the real sale date was set for next month. Although Emoguahao didn't understand, in his heart, Ling Han had already become a godlike existence, so of course he agreed. With regards to Ling Han, he was already completely convinced. Don't just look at how he was a mid-grade alchemist, suppressing Ling Han by a bit. Unknowingly, he had already placed himself in a relatively lower position. Some people were brimming with talent that could not be measured by age. Ling Han replied in satisfaction. Now, he didn't need to spend any effort on these 3 pills. Instead, he could delve into more profound pill formulas. Unfortunately, his mental energy was still not up to the standard, and he was unable to construct a mid-level formation. He was unable to set up the killing formation in the end, and he did not even manage to create a formation base. Summon Snow, how's your cultivation going? Ling Han called over his little maid. She had also benefited from the nouveau riche formation. Young master, Summon Snow is now at 8 meridians, the little maid said excitedly. Good, strive to reach 12 meridians as soon as possible. Ling Han nodded. Summon Snow will definitely work hard. The little maid clenched her fists tightly, full of vigor. She had one wish, and that was to obtain great strength so that she could guard Ling Han. Then, she could stay by Ling Han's side for the rest of her life. Otherwise, she would always worry that she would be abandoned one day. The little maid continued to cultivate with the spirit-gathering formation, while Ling Han sensed the third extraordinary meridian. Every minute of cultivation was precious. However, the more meridians opened, the more difficult it was to advance further. At midnight, Ling Han still did not succeed, so he could only give up and fall asleep. Pung! Suddenly, a soft sound startled Ling Han awake. He straightened his upper body, and his mental energy surged. It had already surged into the courtyard, and he clearly caught sight of two figures. It was one of them who had punched out and broken the hallucination formation in the courtyard. A terrifying blood chi was boiling all over his body, and he could sense it very clearly. To be able to forcefully break this hallucination formation with brute force could only mean one thing. This person was at the blood transformation realm. Coupled with that boiling blood chi, there was no doubt about it. These two people were masked with black cloth, and they held shining swords in their hands. They exuded a sinister aura. Killers. Ling Han immediately said in his heart. Two had come before, but the little maid had killed one and scared the other away. Who would have thought that after such a long time, the other party would make a comeback? This time, they had mobilized a blood transformation realm expert. Should he fight head-on, or retreat? Ling Han only had a thought. He decided to fight head-on. Pung! He directly broke the window and stood in the courtyard. Boiling blood chi was only the first stage of the blood transformation realm, so he was not afraid of a battle. If the blood chi was like a pillar, or even a beast, then he would definitely run away with the little maid. What a keen sense, one of the black-clothed men said. He laughed coldly. However, in the end, it's just a small illuminating pulse realm. Old Su, you guard. If the girl comes out, kill her. I'll take care of this brat. The other black-clothed man nodded. Their mission was very simple, kill Ling Han. As for Summon Snow, as long as it did not affect them, they would not kill her. This was because they had to be paid to kill people. How could they not be paid to kill for free? Ling Han smiled faintly. Which family are you from? Why are you still asking so many questions when you're about to die? The black-clothed assassin looked at Ling Han coldly. All right, if you must know, I'm Zhang San. I'm Li Si. The other black-clothed man chuckled. Ling Han shook his head. I will carve these two names on your tombstones. Die! Zhang San charged over, his sword sweeping across like a rainbow. Ling Han clenched his fist and punched out. With the release of his strength, Ling Han could be unafraid of the sharpness of weapons. With a huge sound, Ling Han's figure retreated, but Zhang San also took a few steps back. His boiling blood chi wavered. What? Li Si saw this and couldn't help but be shocked. Ling Han was clearly only at the illuminating pulse realm. How could he match a blood transformation realm expert? Although they were not the cream of the crop among the blood transformation realm, there were only 7 blood transformation realm assassins in hell. Under the suppression of a large realm, in terms of strength, Ling Han was only slightly weaker. Zhang San was also shocked. He had been tricked by the information again. Previously, they had said that Ling Han only had 10 meridians. In the end, the organization had sent 2 12-meridian silver plate assassins, but one of them had been killed and the other defeated by a woman. They had to use a secret treasure to escape. Now, they had sent 2 first blood transformation experts, but in the end, a man had appeared. His strength was so strong that it was unbelievable. Could it be that the assassination was fake, and the intention was to trick the Hell organization? Again! Zhang San made a comeback, his sword flying immortal. After Ling Han's exchange of blows, he was already very confident. He laughed loudly and charged towards Zhang San to meet his attack. Pung ping pung! The two of them exchanged blows. Although Ling Han's strength was slightly weaker, it wasn't by much. The fight was evenly matched. Li Si was completely speechless. This was too exaggerated. Reading a refreshing novel was enough. Reading on the phone was even more refreshing. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.